Just getting her started. All settled in now.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I just got a new phone this week and I'm trying not to kill the battery on it. On spaces, because this thing running a space kills your battery.
Yes, it does. You think you have it, and all of a sudden, down to half. You're like, whoa, where did that go?
Yep. Exactly. You think Mitch McConnell knows he's not going to be a senator here soon?
No. Him and Biden are eating ice cream somewhere. Drooling.
Yeah.
It really is sad, quite frankly.
It is. I mean, I don't think he has any idea he's a senator right now. So it's sad that they keep him in there just so that they can steer him where they want.
Yeah, Feinstein. I mean, she was dead to the world. You know, all of her assistants were the ones running everything.
There was a representative down in Texas that was living in a nursing home and still held a seat.
It's just so wrong. Good morning to Storm. I never hear you talk. You can grab a mic while nobody's in here and say hello at least if you want to. You're very faithful and come in all the time. Greatly appreciate it, but never get to hear from you. Hey, there's Terry. We're trying to tempt the storm to come up and say, hey. It'd be great if it was just us in the space today. That'd be easier. Shoot the breeze. What's up, Terry?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Truth. Just having some coffee. Morning, Nika. America, the storm. I'm also expecting a call. So if you page me and I don't answer my page, it could be I'm on my call. Just be a few minutes.
No worries.
Good morning, Terry.
Hey, Nika, how's those trees doing?
They're doing all right now. We got rain coming, so believe it or not, I've never been so excited about rain coming. But I won't be here, so it's all good.
Right on. How's Truth this morning?
Oh, well, good. We still got a little misty rain, I guess you could say. We had it all night last night, which is fine by me. But, you know, last night was cool. Our little Bible study space. I think it went well last night.
Yeah, it did. It was a good one.
Man, just for such a small chapter, like we still didn't, we barely scratched the surface, you know?
Yeah, there was a lot of there. You know, you look at Philippians just being 4 chapters, and we started 6:30 Central Time, and we still didn't get all the way through it.
Right. We even went like an extra half hour. So we spent, a couple hours in there and yeah, barely. But it was cool. I mean, you know, as long as people are listening, that we'll keep doing it, right?
Yes, sir.
And good morning to Angelina. Morning, Miss Terry. And of course, the storm. We said, come on up here. You ain't talking. You're more than welcome to grab a mic. I mean, especially in the startup, it's easier to talk without somebody bringing up some stupid political hack thing. But there was a lot of removals from all the uh, voting last night, right? Terry, do you have a list of who was pulled out and put back in and all that crap?
Yeah, it's a list of who isn't going to be in the Congress next year. No Al Green. Now, this has nothing to do with. I'm just saying collectively. These people will not be in Congress next year. Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Dan Crenshaw, Eric Swalwell, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Don Bacon, Jerry Nadler, Bill Cassidy, as of last night, Thomas Massie, and depending on how Texas does, possibly John Cornyn. So hopefully that answers your question.
Isn't that awesome? But just think of the sabotage that they're going to be doing on their way out, which they're already doing, right?
Right. There's no doubt that's going to happen. You know, Massey yesterday in his concession speech took a shot at his opponent by saying, I tried to reach him, but he's a little hard to reach in Tel Aviv. And when John Thune came out yesterday, they asked him about his reaction to Donald Trump endorsing Ken Paxton, and just the look on Thune's face. You could just see he didn't like that at all. But also there was a couple of Republican judges that were elected in Georgia, which is great. So there was a pretty good slacking yesterday on Massey. He lost by 10 points. 10 points in Kentucky. I love it.
Yep. I mean, at least people are stepping up, which I think is a great sign. If they're doing it this early and going out and voting and making a difference and getting what we want, that just, again, more proof. Like, look, go out, vote, it counts.
Right. There was like $35 million put into that race between Massey and I can't pronounce his last name. Ed, he's a former Navy SEAL. But the way I look at it is Massey, he didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill. There was another bill he didn't vote for to fund, I think it was, the Border Patrol and things like that. And he'd always say, well, there just wasn't enough in the bill for the American people. But he was always, it just seemed in some critical votes, he was voting with the Democrats. And then you had Democrats endorsing him. You had the ladies on The View endorsing him. So I suspect Massey is probably going to run something again. Who knows? But he got his butt whooped last night.
Yeah. Quoting the one comedian, there's your sign when you get on The View. There's your sign. Hey, it's Marlin, our lurking fish. He's in here. Yippee. Marlon, if you can take a mic, take it, buddy. If not, I understand. I know he said he's going to be working in a tough area today. So, but I think most of the people in here have already done the old like and share. So, yippee, thank you. Try to get the word out so more people know we're in here.
I always want to play the Jaws music whenever you announce Marlon's in the room. That dun 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 dun.
All right, right. I'd play music. I used to play music all the time, but for some reason, this upgraded phone ain't so upgraded. It's crappy. It's a bummer. What's up, Marlon? Oh, so he's listening. He heard you wanting to do the Jaws thing. He's laughing.
That's hilarious. That movie, I remember when Jaws came out, and then they had Jaws 2, and they had Jaws 3, and then Jaws 4. This time it's personal. But just don't go to the ocean. Don't get in the water. What's Jaws going to do? Is he going to get in a car and come look for you?
Well, they had Sharknado. Wasn't that a movie?
Right, but the Jaws 4, this time it's personal. Like, what all do you have to do to really make a shark mad? You know, like for him to get personal with you.
Yeah, just odd movies that make it and somehow, you know. But that whole scene where the shark, you know, somebody's getting attacked for the first time, and the camera, you know, zooms in, but then it looks like he's zooming out, but he's zooming in. That whole rack focus is what they call it. That that was like a staple. That became an industry staple because he did something so unique. You know, his DP or director of photography. I don't know. Anyway, Hollywood trivia crap.
I'm not gonna hold back. It did shake me up a little bit when I saw the movie the first time. It was pretty graphic, you know. But then when you see the scenes, the parents are out there with their kids on the beach, and I'm thinking, if I'm a parent, you know, why would you have your kid out there on the beach, you know, after something like that, you know?
Yeah. No, I remember going to Universal Studios as a kid and being terrified from that stupid tram. Like it falls to the side, like you're gonna fall in the water, and the shark comes up, and yeah, ugh. My parents. I don't know why they did that to me.
The trauma.
Well, our small little group, so talkative, y'all. Get a dang mic. Come on up. Say hello.
Well, it's still early though, truth. You know, sometimes people, when they just wake up, they just want to listen. They're having their coffee, you know, and it's a lot easier to listen. Like when Marlon was hosting yesterday, I know I helped a little bit as a co-host, but all it was, I was just working in the background, and just to have Marlon talking and all that, and it was great in the sense of just kind of laying back. You know the feeling.
I haven't known that feeling in a while. Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Truth. Good morning, folks. Just a continuation. I was on Carmen's space there, and fed up with media. Fed up said, you know, the problem. They were just talking a little bit about data centers and the problem with, you know, permits and stuff like that, and the meetings, and and they talked about, you know, there's no the problem that these data centers are getting approved is there's no leadership. So people don't know about this stuff. There's no leadership in the Republican Party, and you know, and Fed Up said he had actually said though, you know, people don't step up and go to these meetings, and you know, and Fed Up kind of said there's no leadership, and so you know, I chimed in there and I tried to explain what I consider as the precinct strategy, Dan Schultz's precinct strategy, and you know, it's amazing. You know, just a lot of people. I'm not sure how much of us here in Marlon's space really understand what the precinct strategy is. Really understand how in New Jersey, and because I don't understand other states, but in New Jersey, you know, our New Jersey statutes, you know, possibly our New Jersey Constitution is configured for there to have two Republican committeemen, you know, to have two party committeemen, two Republican, and you can have two Democrat committeemen in each 1,000 voter district. And, you know, in some states, I think in Arizona, they have much larger districts and they have like 15 committeemen in that larger district entity. But this is the base of the Republican Party. These are the voting members of the Republican Party. And most people don't understand, you know, most of us conservatives that come into spaces and talk politics a lot, I think a lot of us still don't understand exactly how the you know, how the parties are formed and how the parties could operate within their local politics and their state politics. So I'm not sure, you know, if you guys want to have a discussion on, you know, the precinct strategy and on party politics. it's a little early. Maybe you want to do it later. I don't know.
The irony of me not even being interested remotely in politics, hosting political spaces.
Well, you know, a lot of people say. I mean, so I knock on a lot of doors. Truth, I campaign for myself often. I'm running again this year. Every 2 years, I'm running for township council. I'll get 1/3 of the votes. The Democrat will get 2/3 of the votes in the town that I live in. In the county that I live in, I never ran for county commissioner, but I attempted to once. But there's other people that want to do it. And on the county level, our Republican candidates get 1/3 of the vote, and the Democrats get 2/3 of the votes. But, you know, nonetheless, I knock on doors campaigning for our conservative candidates. And I talk to a lot of people. And I just mentioned this in the other space. I'll mention it here. So I talk to a lot of people at their door. And a lot of people, when I speak to them at their door and I hand them some campaign literature, or I'm getting signatures to get candidates on the ballot, when I talk to them at their door and I talk about politics and I talk about things like, yeah, you know, we should do something about it. I ask them for their phone number. They give me their phone number. I text them on the spot, you know, hey, this is Bill. Nice to meet you today. I text them a couple of days later. How are things going? Could I get your email? I'll put you on a little email list. And, you know, sometimes they send it, sometimes they don't. I contact them a week later or a week or two later, and you know, I can see they've already turned it off. They really don't have the time. And some of them, when I get through to them, they say, I don't have the time, or, you know, that may be an excuse. Maybe they don't want to, you know, muddy the waters. They don't want to, you know, disrupt their status in the town, you know, in their church, their social standing somewhere locally. So they don't want to get too involved. But mainly, people don't know what a committeeman is in New Jersey, what being a committeeman is, how the Republican Party works. So, you know, I think there's still a lot of education that we need to, you know, get among ourselves to figure out how to be better involved with our local politics. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, politics is just such a dirty word, and I think so many average Americans are just so sick of it, as they just don't care. You know, they just don't want to be involved. They don't know how to speak politically, like me, getting into any kind of committee, you know, meetings and stuff. I'm working on it, but it just doesn't end well, because I can't sit there and be political, you know, in the way you speak and stuff. I don't curse. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole in front of people, but I just can't hold my tongue and just call people out for what it is, and it's not taken well. You know, I've never understood the whole political thing, like working for some companies or whatnot, to where somebody is literally saying to your face, you're an asshole, I don't like you, blah, 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 but they're saying it in such political jargon that it's so degrading and demeaning, and it's just so, how am I describing it? It's just so fake. I can't do fake. Right? You know, like, just say what you got to say, and be, you know.
Nothing needs to be said. Nothing needs to be said. So in New Jersey now, you live, Truth, in totally different state, halfway across the country. But in New Jersey, and unfortunately, I don't know, you know, a lot of the states. You guys all know who Dan Schultz is. Dan Schultz is the Precinct Strategy is his handle, and he's got a website called Precinct Strategy. He used to do spaces twice a week on Precinct Strategy. And so Fed Up with Media brought this up just you know, an hour ago, that you know, people don't stand up at local township meetings. So like, and he was talking in reference to approving these AI centers, approving big construction projects that nobody knows anything about. And he's saying nobody stands up. And he says, you know, nobody's involved. And he mentioned, the 200,000 vacancies, throughout the country. So so Fed Up with Media, if he's here yet, no, he's not in. He was talking about the precinct strategy. But, when somebody says, I don't want to be involved in politics, I've given up on the two-party system, they're all corrupt. When somebody says something like that, they don't understand, in my opinion, they don't understand how things could work, how things should work. And the main issue with the way how things should work is you should be involved with your party. You should have the minimum number of people that are in your Republican Party. You should get them elected, and they're the ones that then vote for chairs, for municipal chairs. Then they're the ones that vote for county chairs and state chairs and the RNC at the national level. It all starts with your local committeemen. And in New Jersey, this is in the Constitution. I'm sorry, I'm rambling here a little. I know it's a little early, but I see no hands. So, allow me to continue for just a few more minutes here. The party, the Republican Party is a private organization, but in New Jersey, being a committeeman, you get elected in the primary, and that's what we have going on right now in our state. Is everybody's ballot, everyone in the whole state, their ballot is going to have 2 committeeman positions down the bottom, and most people they're going to see no petition filed. In their ballot, they're going to see U.S. Senator, New Jersey, Republican U.S. Senator candidate. They're going to see that. They're going to see probably 4 names for U.S. Senator. They're going to see maybe some New Jersey Assembly candidates going down the chain, and then they might see Township Council. They might see County Commissioner. Offices to vote for. But there's going to be now. It's no longer a party line. So the committeemen used to be down the bottom of the line, but it's no longer in New Jersey. It's no longer a column. They box them. So it's it's going to be a little different for people. So people need to understand why it's different. I ask people, do you know? Did you look at the primary? Did you look at the general election last year? Did you see that it's not a party line anymore? They're like, what are you talking about, Bill? People, we had some big changes in New Jersey, and people aren't paying attention to it. So anyways, this committee positions, it's going to say no petition filed. There's going to be 2 of them, because there's 2 committeemen in every voting district in New Jersey. A voting district is around 1,000 registered voters, and there's so many vacancies. And this is where if you run for and you get elected to be a committeeman, and you don't have to run and get elected, you can just get appointed. You can go to your Republican Party meeting and get appointed, and then you vote for who's going to be the chair, and then you vote for who's going to be the county chair. I'm not sure if you vote for the state committeemen or not. That might vary per county. I'm not that up on all of the politics, but you got these districts. A district is 1,000 registered voters. It's the streets in my neighborhood, and not every state is the same. Some states do it a little broader and a little wider. But for Marlin, you live in a district, and Marlin was talking about this a little bit. Everybody has a voting district, and they're not that big. Voting districts have around 1,000. Some of them have a little less than 1,000. Some of them have a little more than 1,000. Some of them have 2,000, almost 3,000. But they're small, and there's supposed to be 2 Republican committeemen for each district, and these are the voting members of the Republican Party. And if your head is spinning right now, that's a problem, because everybody on this space should understand this stuff very well. So, and if you think I'm rambling, that's a problem, because everybody on this space should understand this stuff very well. And if you don't, I would submit to you guys, we need to discuss this topic more.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a dry topic. No offense against you. It's just a dry topic. Again, it gets so convoluted that people just like throw their hands in the air, like, if I just don't care. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying generalizing. You know, this is the game. It's become a game to where there's got to be all these different positions, there's got to be all these different elections, this guy's going to do that for this guy and this committee's going to do this for that, and it's just too convoluted. People need to get back to simplicity. The Constitution itself, you can read it in maybe 30 minutes. It's not that complex, right? We're trying to simplify here. So, when we're talking about the Republican and Democrat Party, those are the only two parties that we talk about. But I mean, if you read through the Federalist Papers, especially Federalist Number 10, which James Madison wrote, right? He was discussing the nature and the impact of what they referred to as factions. To where you basically factions like groups of citizens that are united by common interests. So obviously we know the Democrat and Republican, the major parties, right? But they conflict with the rights of others and overall interests of the communities and all this kind of crap. But he was really trying to tell people it's not a good thing. It's human nature. It's inevitable, right? That it's kind of a natural outcome of human nature that depending on your differences and opinions and wealth and property and ownership and all that kind of stuff, you're going to side with, unfortunately, one or the other. And I don't know if I'm making any sense. Just to try to simplify, right? And I guess, again, it's inevitable of human nature because what are we ultimately talking about? Good or evil, right? When you simplify it. Either something is good or something is bad or evil. And so the inevitability of factions in two major parties, they really did try to avoid, hence making this a republic. But I don't know if I'm making any sense. But Bill, I'm not trying to downplay or get away from what you're talking about. Yes, people need to understand how this works, but the convolution of everything is it's too much. It's just too much. Let's hear what Russell's got to say.
Morning, guys. I'm just gonna. I understand what he's trying to say. It just doesn't work as smoothly as it writes down on paper a lot smoother than it runs. But anyway, what I was going to say is yesterday I went over to vote in Alabama, and I walked in and they have it all set up in the same room, and you declare whether you're a Democrat or a Republican as you walk in. And they asked me, and I said, well, I'm an American. I really don't, I don't like either one of these groups. And they kind of looked at me funny, and I could tell it was a bunch of liberals that were running the voting, at least the table I went to. And so I go out there and hand them ID. They made me fill out another piece of paper because apparently when I went to prison, didn't vote in the midterm. They, I don't know. They had to fill out another piece of paperwork so they knew my address was correct and all that stuff. And I just thought, well, so that's how short it is to get thrown off the list. And I'm reading all these articles where people are been dead for 15 years and they're not affected by it. Same thing when my mother died. The payments kept coming. I had to call them and tell them quit sending these payments because I didn't want to be responsible for repaying them. You know what I mean? But anyway, and then I filled out the paperwork and she came over there and I got a ballot and she hands me the Democrat ballot. And I just kind of looked at her. Do you see what I look like here? It's probably not this one, So anyway, I went ahead and voted. And like I said, I left some of them blank because of the fact that I'm not going to vote for somebody I don't really know their position. And part of the problem is you get online, all this information that we have at our fingertips, and you can't find any information. You find about a three sentence statement from these people that are running for office, and that's not enough to know anything about. you know, and I went back through YouTube and looked for some of the interviews and stuff, and I seen a couple of them and stuff, but you know, some of them they never signed up for the information page where you could just click, you know, what are their positions and where are they at and what, you know, that kind of thing. And it's still not being run correctly. You know what I mean? It's just, they look at me like, you know, I said, well, I was in prison for a year while I was, you know, I didn't get to vote last time. And they looked at me like I had, you know, had somebody cut my head off or something. I just looked at them like, man, what are you guys up to? It just felt real creepy. The whole thing did. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you.
Well, yeah, and I certainly think that something's got to be done regarding what you're talking about. Like, okay, are you registered as a Republican or a Democrat? And then they give you a sheet that only has your party to vote for, and that doesn't seem right to me. What would seem right is that you get one sheet for everybody, and you vote for who you vote for. Whether I'm Republican or not, I don't see it happening. But if there were a candidate on the Democrat side that had some policies and stuff that I agreed with, I would want the ability to vote for that person as much as, you know, on the opposite. You know what I mean? So I think that I just don't remember it being like that when I first started voting, and it shifted to where you get one sheet or the other. Am I wrong in that, guys? I'm just saying out loud here.
I think you're perfectly in line. I should get a copy of both of them, and I should be able to fill out the parts on one that I want, fill out the parts on the other that I want. You don't have to fill them all out, and they should count for those people. You know, no matter, I mean, they can't ask us if we're white or black anymore. You know what I mean? You know, it's like medical. You know, what gives them the right to know all that about me? You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm an American. I don't know what you guys are following around, but I'm an American. Is all I can tell you. You know, they just, like, it was just, we're going to have a generation of people that are running these things. They're so old, they're going to die off. I mean, they're just right on, you know what I'm saying? Some of them are old. They've been doing this for 100 years. And we got the Blue Dog Democrat down here in the South. And all I know is if you could stand next to Joe Biden with a straight face and tell him that he's got you, you know, you got his back, you have a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And Bill, I'm not trying to ignore what you're trying to talk about. It's just, again, it's there's so much to say. It's so convoluted. Really, I mean, a lot of people need a visual, you know, like a chart. Like, hey, this is how it works. This is where these positions go. You see what I mean, Bill? I'm to simplify so that people can get an overall view and understand all these different committees and how the positions get filled. Am I making sense there, Bill? Did we lose you, Bill? Uh-oh, I'm not sure what happened to Bill. He might be on another phone call. Oh, anyway. Nika and Terry, how you guys doing?
I always wait for Nika to respond first because ladies first.
Well, she's got her dog giving her grief, I'm sure, in the background. Like, pay attention to me, mama.
Yeah. I'm glad Russell took a mic because I posted in the Pill about the press release about the anti-weaponization fund. And to those that don't know what it is, and I didn't know what it was till I looked it up, but Donald Trump had sued the government, the IRS, for billions and billions of dollars for the leak of his tax returns. He ended up settling the case, and part of that settlement is that they created what's called this anti-weaponization fund, which is a fund of $1,776 billion. 1776, how ironic. And the fund is for people who have been victims of political warfare, things like that, can file a complaint to have their grievance heard. And they will be issued either, if it's founded, an apology and possibly even an award. So Russell, I don't know if that applies to you or any other J6ers or anybody that was unlawfully targeted for their political views and things like that. But so in a nutshell, Trump sued the IRS because they released his returns, and as a result, now he's settled that case. And as part of that settlement, they've created this fund of $1.776 billion. So what's your thought on that, or have you even heard about it?
I've signed up Peter Tickton, that's Trump's buddy from back in the day, is running the whole deal, and there's a form and stuff and DocuSign. I signed up for it. I mean, it don't mean anything until it shows up, but some people are that did 40 days, you're probably not going to get a whole bunch, but depending on the mental grief they put you through also, all the people around those people that they took the breadwinners away, because most of the people that were there that day to put a check on them because of the 2020 election theft. We were I wanted to see them do it in front of me, and they did. And they did everything they could do to bury it. They tried everything. They threatened to felonies. I did a year in prison. You're not supposed to, they have a recidivism rate for violence, and they're not supposed to put you in there with somebody that's got a higher score than this. Well, they threw me in there in the middle in a medium penitentiary, which is, and I just feel sorry for the guys that weren't 6'2" and 280 pounds. You know what I mean? So it was just, I was, the Lord designed me for this. I mean, he knew I could handle it, and we ended up doing it. And I would just like to see these people that caused all this. They need to go and do a year themselves. But the problem is everybody is it's still all hunky dory if you got that that contract with them. You know what I'm saying? The people in the jail, the certain ones of those guys put you through heck. And I just think that we ought to be able to, they want to show corruption. Well, I've got paperwork from prison that I can show corruption with a signature of an officer on it. And they just waited me out, and they had to, I did a year, and my date came up, and I didn't get the pardon until 2 weeks after I was out, and everything was done. And I tried to get my fees back. They've messed with my Social Security. They're still messing with it. It's just funny how there's still animus against us because of the fact that we wanted to be there and see it for ourselves. And I didn't scuff the floor. I mean, it was just ridiculous. They got mad at me because I walked down the hall and tried to get away from a scuffle that I seen was fixing to break out, and I didn't want to be in the middle of it. Well, why'd you go that way? I was looking for an exit. I'm stuck in the Capitol now. I'm looking for an exit. You guys are standing between me and the door that I came in. And there's nobody there then. They were it was just ridiculous. It was the worst acting I've seen in my life. Look at Fanone. He is about as upside down idiot as I've ever seen in my life, and he needs to go to prison. I just can't believe the hate that these people have for people they've never met or don't even know. That's why people that hate Trump so bad, you've never been in the room with him. How can you hate somebody that bad that you've never locked eyes with? I don't get it, But I'm out here riding it out, and we were, we wanted to make a change. We definitely got a moment in time. I don't know if that's going to make the change that we want, but we don't want it to go kinetic at all. That's for sure. We just need to get these people to get their head out of their ass and realize that we're all in this together, no matter who's got the steering wheel, But
well, Russell, I hope that your complaint for monetization for relief, if it articulates what you just said, that was a lot of damage that you went through. I always felt that the Sixers, excuse me, were made an example of as a message from the Democrats to anybody. If you do this, this is what we're going to do to you, because the draconian sentences they imposed on these J6ers, not to mention their Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial by an impartial jury was violated, their Eighth Amendment to cruel and unusual punishments. We're talking about
Brady violations.
Right.
There was all kinds of stuff.
I mean, they stacked like pancakes charges on these people that just simply were concerned about the vote, the election that we had. And if you break it down, a lot of these offenses, which normally in a city court would be a trespass or possibly even a criminal mischief. A trespass is normally a warning and a ticket. A mischief is based upon the damage of the property value. So if a window's broken, it's $500 to fix the window. It's levied at that. But we saw J6ers get sentences for 15, 20 years, if I'm not mistaken, for this stuff. And it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible what they did to these people. They ruined their lives. So hopefully this fund will help provide financial relief to some of these people. It'll never take the event away and the damage that it caused. There's probably not a day you don't wake up, Russell, and it crosses your mind what happened. You know,
I'm pretty much past it at this point. I don't think about it all the time. All I know, I just want what I had before they charged me. I mean, it cost me $20,000 to go to prison. You know, and you know the rate they use is you get $1,100 a day for every day that you do that you weren't supposed to. Okay, and that's pretty much the bottom of the formula, I think, and not counting what they put you through. You know, but in a normal situation, if you did a year and you weren't supposed to, you'd get $1,100 a day. So, and it ain't really that. I mean, I saved my business. I'm still good. You know, if my health was better, they gave me a bacterial infection in prison, and they didn't have hot water in the kitchen for over 3 months. And people, you know, didn't know that, you know, and I've got it on, in my emails that I would have to FOIA it. I mean, I worked in the kitchen. I've seen what they were doing. They kept stealing the pipe. The inmates kept stealing the pipe for the dishwashers. So they were washing them in chemical and calling it good. And, it made a lot of people go to, if they look at the records of the hospital in there, people going in for, stomach problems. And, me as a J6er, I couldn't get any help from anybody that I would trust with a butter knife next to me, much less, you know, these people. They didn't even know how to do blood pressure. They're using a electronic cuff, which you're not supposed to use because it doesn't give you a true reading. If you're gonna put somebody on pills for blood pressure, you at least need a true reading. They won't admit you to the hospital without doing a manual cuff on you. You know, I took care of my mom for 10 years, so I know about a few things. But, and all they want to do is give me the COVID shot. I could have got that every day if I wanted it. But anyway, like I said, we'll see what happens.
Well, hopefully there's some, you know, justice, if you will, right?
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, I'm just gonna go out the back door and watch these fools fall over each other, because that's what they're doing at this point. And then you got people that are out there working different angles, but I will never surrender to a police officer again and give them the control over me like they had, you know, because they could have killed me. You know, they tried. Yeah. You know, I mean, it would have been real easy. They were rolling my cell. They rolled my cell 10 times. They could have planned this stuff. The officer was trying to get me to hit him so I would grab more charges. I mean, I had to bite my tongue a few times in there because of what he was wearing, the uniform, you know, and it was ridiculous. But I mean, like I said, it was. God made me strong enough for it. I hadn't been in jail since 1978 when I was 18 years old for not paying a traffic ticket. And here I am, I turned 63 in prison, you know, and didn't do anything. and told the truth. If you would read my statements to the FBI and the transcript, Chutkin was my judge. Okay. And there was definitely things going on between it. Put it this way, they're all in on it. They're all in on it. If they're not letting it happen, or they didn't create it, but they're letting it happen, they're still complicit. So anyway, I had enough for today.
Yeah, no worries, man. Hey, I just threw up on the top, by the way. Some car exploded downtown in a financial district in New York. I don't know if you guys caught that.
No, just first I've seen of it.
Totally opposite, Russell. Sorry, it just cars don't just explode. I'm sorry, it's not like the movies. You know what I mean? That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's part of this is part of the mayor's warmth of collectivism. Isn't that what he said when the day he was elected? Welcome to the warmth of collectivism. Well, there's some of that warmth right there.
Yeah, straight out of the Communist Manifesto. But Russell, I mean, I'm really hoping that they really do legally prove. We all know that election was totally botched, but I can't wait for them to legally prove, which justifies the reasoning for people being there, knowing it was a fake, rigged election. And that'll give so much justification, whether there's financial compensation for you or not,
Well, put it this way, the Minutemen that did this originally didn't get paid. So,
Yep. Jeannie, I see you came up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Russell that was the most informative explanation of what you went through from a January 6th person. And I very much appreciate that, because there is all this hullabaloo around January 6th, but you never could understand what was really happening. And so I very much appreciate what you just did and said. And I wish you would get into more spaces and tell your story, because that's.
well, let me talk to you, Gina. I've already spoke in front of the Republican Women's of Alabama in 3 different locations up here. I've got a pretty good, presence in the room. I've spoke to, like 1,000 people before, and it was for the Republicans, which, like, I told them too, I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. We all Americans. And
Well,
there's a lot more stuff to the story that I can't tell you over this thing, because you know what I mean. It's all hearsay anyway. I know what I saw.
Right.
Mine is the truth.
Well, and I think that we just need to amplify your voice, is what I'm saying, because we need to amplify each other's voice, because we each have a story to tell. So,
right.
do you have anything written down that talks about your experience?
I've got stuff saved from prison. I've got notes. I stayed in the law library a lot. I knew that I was right. I didn't plead guilty because I was not guilty.
Well, if you want to tell your story, you let me know, and Truth know, and Marlon know, okay? Because I'd very much like to tell your story.
Well, we used the American Patriot Relief, APR. I was involved with them when I first got out. They helped me out a little bit with, put it this way, I got out, paid all my bills, $20,000 was in the bank. I got out, I had $300 left, and they wouldn't let me reopen my own shop.
Yeah.
I had to go to work for somebody.
Devastating. And yeah, okay. Well, just let us know if you want to have us help you tell your story. I guess that's the way to say it.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, the only reason that I haven't gone out there more is the fact that it costs money to do it. And my health is not as good as it was. And it's got, when you have a bad week, you have a bad week. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I mean, I'm pretty good and I feel like I'm getting better, but they messed me up. I'm telling you, some of this garbage they fed you. You know, like I said, they put me in the kitchen, and after I was in the kitchen for 3 weeks, they took me out of there because I was getting along too good. I knew everybody on the whole
Well,
yard.
what you need,
You know, I lost you.
Yeah, Jeannie, we lost you.
You're following me, right, Jenny?
Yeah, I know she does. She's just
Yeah,
has a lot of.
She can DM me. I got it open where she can DM me, and I'll give her some information if she wants. I mean, I don't know what state she's in or what, but there's a lot of places to be able to go and spread the word. But if you don't have 500,000 viewers on YouTube, they don't, Trentus Owens is a good friend of mine. He goes and speaks everywhere. You know, he's the one that took a shot of whiskey inside the Capitol. But he's working for Peter Tickton now on this case. So I got a little bit of an inside view. But yeah, I'd be interested. I mean, if somebody contacted me.
Yeah, it just sucks. I look back on that whole thing. I knew as soon as Trump was having a rally close to there and telling people what was going on, and people were agreeing that they were tired of this. We can't let this happen. I think a lot of people saw the writing on the wall, and I was just like, man, I know that there's going to be Antifa people. It's a setup. Not to mention all the agency people that were there undercover, quote unquote. But I just saw the writing on the wall. I knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. And it's a damn shame because.
Well, what else could you do though? What else could you do? That was the only avenue. I mean, I knew all those guys were going to be there too. I wanted to see Antifa. I was tired of watching them, through CNN's lens. That was the whole deal. I wanted to see it for myself, and it wasn't. Everything was. It was a party until they rained down on us with gas and bullets and whatever the else they could throw at us, and it was just ridiculous how. I can't believe that people would go through all that and have no morals. To me, that's no morals. When you go along with that and you know what's going on, you got no morals, and that's the problem. They're still there. Not enough has been gone yet. I mean, it's coming and it's happening every day, but it's still a mess. The BOP is another mess. There will be a lawsuit filed on it. It's with a little bit of money, I could probably do a few things. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's the unfortunate truth, right? It always takes money, no matter what. It takes money to make money. It takes money to get stuff done. I mean, just like the whole American Rancher Alliance thing we're doing. We got a bunch of ranchers all across the country trying to get together, trying to fight off the big four, but the big four is worth trillions. And they have no problem just hamming people up and doing stupid stuff. And, you got to have money to fight it. And that's the hardcore truth that is really tough to swallow, I think, for a lot of people. Right.
And the whole thing is, it's not even big money. I mean, some of these influencer stuff are getting a paycheck to show up because their face is recognized now. And they don't know nothing about what really happened. They weren't elbow to elbow with these people. And I've seen it going on. Like I said, and I'm not real scared of nobody. I mean, I've taken a beating more than once in my life, and I probably could. I wouldn't recover as fast anymore. But I got a twin brother, so we used to go fist to cuff a whole lot. So I'm not afraid of nobody. And these people think we're stupid. They did this in such a way that anybody that's got any common sense at all looked right through it, could see the layers of DEI that were stacked up there that day.
Well, not only that, man, the fact that this whole quote unquote J6 committee has all these trial things with total manipulation, re-editing the whole nine, and then they destroy all the evidence. Like, never in the history of anything like that has that ever happened. Why they are not held up on charges of treason just for that alone is mind-blowing,
Well, have you ever noticed that whenever there's some type of a congressional hearing and they have a Republican on the stand, you'll always see some nut job Democrat try to pin down the Republican to say that Joe Biden was lawfully elected in 2020. And you know, the reason I think they do that is so that they can use that Republican's words to go, haha, but Senator so-and-so said that he believed that it was a lawful election, that Joe Biden did win those votes. When they know what happened in 2020, when they know how COVID ushered in, it was the Trojan horse to usher in all of these things that occurred for Biden to win. It only took, 4 to 5 districts to swing this entire election? Maricopa County, Wayne County. When I went to bed that night, Trump was winning soundly. It wasn't a matter if I thought Donald Trump was going to beat Joe Biden. It was a matter of how badly was he going to beat Joe Biden. And then I woke up the next morning and it was like, what the heck? What's going on? So I think history will not be kind to the Democrats as we look back 20, 30 years as to this election, 100 years, that election, and subsequently how the J6ers were treated. And I'll close by saying, at least on this topic, that look what they did to Donald Trump. He was a sitting president, and they made him vanish from social media. They closed his personal checking accounts. Look at how they weaponized against him. A sitting president. It was a pretty scary time what the Democrats did, what they did. I'll stop there.
Yeah, you're completely right. That I took the stand in my trial, and if somebody would read that transcript when I was on the stand and the way that Chutkin talked to me and the way the prosecutor talked to me, they asked me that exact question. Do you think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election? I said, yeah, he did. And they looked at me cross-eyed. And then they took some of my Facebook posts. The movie V for Vendetta. Well, I never even seen the movie. I just liked the logo and stuff. So I shared it on my Facebook page, and they brought that into court. And like I was coming to overthrow the government that day. And they just the word salad. I only stayed out there about probably 7 or 8 minutes. They got tired of me. They knew they weren't going to get anything else out of me, and they got what they wanted as far as asking me the question if I would have told them that Trump told me to do it, and that's the reason I was there, then they probably would have paid me.
Unreal, man. Just unbelievable. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, that's just to hear you say that they tried to get you to admit that. It was like say uncle, playground stuff. But I think when I saw the voting stop or the counting stop in November of 2020, when 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we're shutting down, the voting's going to stop. They had a major water main break in Georgia. Well, it turned out it was a backed up toilet. You had Arizona calling it for Joe Biden hours before any other network. There were so many distractions going on. I think that how can I word this? The real insurrection occurred when bad actors used their positions to swing an election. That was the most. That was horrible, and it was so anti-American on so many levels, and are against our republic, that those people need to be held accountable. They still need to be held accountable.
Put it this way: they took that power that they had and made it look the way they wanted it to look, and were completely. I mean, it went from the time they were going to sit when they should have sent it back to the states when the quorum wasn't complete, and they should have sent it back and give the 10-day cooling off period. They get right there. We're supposed to play by the rules, and then they just change the rules when they get to the part where they can't do it, and it. But they got no morals. Like I said, this is good versus evil. Exactly. We all know that. But these people have, we got to make it to where they made us uncomfortable for 4 years. And now I want to make them uncomfortable for at least that long.
Well, it's not a matter of if they're going to cheat. They don't have any problem with that. We saw what Virginia did, where they completely left a step out of the redistricting. And then they try to cheat, they get caught cheating, and then they play the victim that it's the Republicans' fault that they got caught cheating or that they were cheating. They're just so this is real psychopathic behavior we're seeing here.
It's sociopathic, right? Sociopaths don't care. There are just no remorse, no feelings, no nothing. Just do whatever it takes. That's a sociopath.
And it's easy behind a keyboard or something like that. You wouldn't believe the stuff that I was sent and the disappearing messages and it was just like I said. All they seen was I lost friends over in California on it. I was, you know, they acted like I you know, and I'd known them since high school. And so, you know, take another booster, you idiot. You know, it's all I can say.
Yeah, let's not even go there, right? That's a whole other thing. I saw tinfoil came up. Good morning, Tin. Are you working or can you talk?
It's been kind of crazy this morning. I've been super busy. We just got done replacing the switch at the county. They were back up, so everyone's happy there. Yay! And I'm just catching up on some other things, and I don't think I got enough sleep last night. I want to go back to bed. So I'm here. I'm a little bit kind of between the awake world and the half sleepy world. So I'll be over here, kind of just chilling.
God, I know Miss Nico definitely has a lot to say about the J6. I just don't know how busy she is in the background too.
I apologize, Truth. I've actually been trying to chase a delivery that was supposed to be here and is lost in transit in Alabama somewhere, and the company is not being helpful. FedEx is not responding, and yeah, I'm having a great time. Yeah, don't get me started on J6. So much happened that people are unaware of. I mean, Russell gave you guys a good background on it, but the stuff that these guys went through before they were arrested, during the arrests, after they were put in prison, some of them in maximum security, the diesel therapy so that their families couldn't find them. For those that don't know, that's moving them from prison to prison. They did that a lot just so that their families couldn't find them and they couldn't, you know, come and see them. They would put them as far from their homes as possible so that they didn't get any visitors. I mean, just that they would put bleach in their food. They would keep them in solitary confinement for months and months on end. I mean, and they didn't do that. That's illegal. No, they did do that, even though it's illegal. They don't care. These people were treated worse than terrorists. I just, in my eyes, this will be a stain on our history. There was things done that you can't take back, and it was all done to American citizens just for supporting their president. There is no. This is what got me on X, to be honest, and I was very heavily involved in it for up until just this past year, and it's devastating what they did to some of these families, guys. I mean, I think 4 committed suicide because of the threats from the government. I mean, you're talking about trying to go up against the largest corporation in the country, and you know you're not going to win. So you either stand your ground and let them do what they're going to do to you, and some of them took that I can't even list all the horrible things that were done to some of these people just for supporting their president. So, and honestly, most of you probably don't want me to because it'll break your heart, honestly.
It was more for getting to know the truth. The supporting the president. I'm another human is no better than I am. I don't care what his name is or where he's from or anything. We all put our pants on the same way. And these people have they got in control. And like I said, we're playing by the rules. I want to know the truth. I'm not, I wasn't there just for Trump. I was there because they did the stop the steal, and whatever his name was that organized that, and it was the biggest. Like I said, they're playing us for fools. If they walk the streets again, unbothered, something's wrong. But I mean, it's just like 9/11 or anything else. People have forgotten. You know what I mean? And it was the same people that did this, that did that. I don't, they're the same place.
Yeah, it's a topic that unfortunately is never going to come to resolution. We definitely all agree that there's got to be some accountability for all of this kind of stuff, from J6 and back even before. Obviously, Obama deserves to be in jail at the very least. That's a guaranteed thing, for the fact that, for one, he's not allowed to even run for president because he wasn't born in this country, which, people try to dodge that one and pretend like he was, and he wasn't. Everybody knew he wasn't, and especially people with insider information. If you remember Clint Eastwood himself, he's like, it's the biggest fraud pulled on the American people. Like, he knew, and then look at Joan Rivers. Remember, she came out and said what everybody knew. Again, the insider information, the Hollywood elites, and all that crap. Saying Michelle's not a Michelle, it's a Mike. And then when she said that early on, way early on, if you remember that, she died right after that. So all these horrible things that we all know to be true, all the conspiracy theories, quote unquote, how many of them have actually been proven completely true? When are people going to really wake up to it? It's just like we've been sleeping. This whole society, as Americans as a whole, have been asleep, been conditioned, been programmed. And it's good to see that people are waking up somewhat, but it needs to happen a lot more, and we need to keep vocal on these things. There's got to be accountability, and if it's not done in this current administration, it'll never be done. We're gonna lose our republic. We almost lost it. We almost lost it. If Kamala Ding Dong, if the cheat would have happened and she would be president, this republic would not be here. I know that 100%. It's a damn shame. Accountability, that's what we all want, right? But hopefully we're going to see it sooner than later. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about how we can amplify voices, and there's a business opportunity there. And because I'm seeing it on the health side, the healthcare side, there's so many different business opportunities, and I'm seeing them everywhere. And it takes an entrepreneurial viewpoint to see what we could do to amplify voices, just amplify voices. So I know that a lot of you know that I'm working on a book, and I'm collecting a lot of stories. And I was thinking I was going to really focus on the healthcare aspects of everything, but I'm starting to lean towards just telling our stories, because if we can get it out and into the public, I don't know. I'm rambling now because my brain is like running a million miles a minute on these different things that we could do. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say is we really could rock the world. And that's all I got to say.
We did.
Yep, certainly did. And some people on the outside looking in, they all see the corruption. Ask anybody from a foreign country watching, you know, all of them agreed. Totally stolen election. There wasn't anybody who actually disagreed except for the people who cheated themselves, right?
Yeah, they were in on it too. I told you guys a story a couple weeks back that I met the guy from Germany. He was out here vacationing. Spent an afternoon with him, had a few drinks, and ate breakfast with him the next morning. And I'm friends with him on WhatsApp now. And he asked me all kinds of questions. I'm not sure what he can see. You know, what I'm saying what they're letting in that country over there right now. But he understands. You know, he asked me some very honest questions about J6 because nobody knows nothing over there for real. You know what I'm saying? They've done such a good job of graying it up that nobody knows, you know, and the other thing is there's so many stories, you know, and they're all true from all different angles, you know, and like I said, the only reason I was up there, I wanted to see it for myself, and I was tired of sitting on the couch. And we can talk about it all we want, but you know, when you show up somewhere and there's enough of you, they pay a little bit of different attention to you, you know, and you know, you may end up being the martyr, but you can't go quietly. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Go, you know what I mean? I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to bend the knee. And they did over here. You know, I went to all the BLM marches through town. You know, the Sons of the South were, I mean, all those guys were here trying to recruit people, you know, and I was too old for all that dumb shit. So I went to a bunch of different marches, and you know, I was just there observing, and I could see that even, you know, inside our own city hall, we've got issues, you know. I mean, the sheriff, you know, and if you've got to live here and don't have any way to change locations, then you're gonna have to deal with some blowback, you know.
Yes, sir. The corruption is deep, but I certainly want us to also have a glimmer of hope here. You know, keep it all in perspective. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much corruption all over the damn place, all over our country. We've seen it, but when people do show up, we make a difference. You know, I mean, Trump is our president. We showed up. It happened. Last night, kind of what we started the space on last night, there was a lot of wins, so to speak, getting rid of a lot of people. Terry, do you got that list handy? A kind of, you know, some of the good news of who's gone and all that kind of stuff again?
Yeah, let me just pull it up. And like I said, I just pulled this off of X. This is not my work product, but let me get it here. It's kind of, I think we've all kind of circulated around, but these are the people who will not be in Congress in 2027. This includes both Democrats and Republicans. Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Dan Crenshaw, Eric Swalwell, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Don Bacon, Jerry Nadler, Bill Cassidy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and possibly John Cornyn. And like we said, we saw last night, Thomas Massie got whipped by 10,000 votes in a plus 40 district that went for Trump hard. So we are getting some victories. We've seen some of these court rulings on redistricting that the Democrats, just got spanked on those rulings. I saw John Thune's face when Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton to be the next senator in Texas. The look on Thune's face was just like, so we're starting to see more we the people candidates being elected. And so there is some positive movements. There are some victories. There are some things to be thankful for. And I love it. And it's driving the Democrats insane. I mean, Massie had endorsements from Democrats. He was endorsed by The View. He'll make a fine co-host on The View, and he can talk and cry there. How about that?
Right. And of course they're going to use it like, oh, it's a MAGA person that turned around. It's just whole horseshit. He was never MAGA. He was never even Republican, quite frankly. But but they'll use that to their advantage. It's just such a freaking complex, big puzzle and game that have been playing for years, and they have their plan Bs and plan Cs for if this doesn't work, we're going to say this. If that doesn't work, we're going to say that. We're going to spin it because it's easy for them to do that when you do have complete control over the mainstream media to enhance your lie, to back up your lie, to voice your lie, to get it out there, to where unfortunately uninformed or ill-informed people who actually believe what they watch on television, which I mean, at this day and age, how can you, right? But they believe this kind of shit, and they're just going down that okay, well, this is who I gotta vote for, and oh my gosh, this is such a tragedy, and they start repeating. You can hear them. I mean, we've heard them in these spaces when they come up here and they start parroting bullshit that we've all seen. They say the same script. I mean, I love those videos when they come out when they're all saying the same script about we have to save our democracy. First off, we're not a democracy, which is another pet peeve of mine. But you know, it's just the list goes on and on and on of all the atrocities, all the evil that we see, the game that they play, the playbook that they use. You know, I'm waiting for another shooting to come, quite frankly, because they try to play that card when things aren't working. Well, let's distract. Let's have another shooting so that we can get back to taking away the Second Amendment and, you know, these assault rifles. That's what AR stands for, is an assault rifle, which is another horse shit thing. You know what I mean? I'm listing a bunch of different stuff, but it's all the same crap.
Right. And it is. The Democrats are very, very serious about taking total control of this country. And this just sounds so lame of me to probably even say it, because we all know this. But the degree of their seriousness, and we were talking about sociopathic behavior, when Biden performed so poorly in this debate, Nancy Pelosi immediately came out and said, no, he's got to go. Bill and Hillary, he's got to go. And the thing they kept saying was party over people. Party over. They honestly believe that their ideology, there's what they're wanting to make America into, is far more important than any one person. That's why the J6ers were impacted so hard. That's why they don't have a problem cheating. Their movement is so much more important than anything. But America right now, I feel like the people are waking up. I mean, we just unseated Cassidy, who was one of the senators that voted to convict Donald Trump. It seems like everybody that's gone against Trump, they're either no longer in politics or there's just a couple left. You got Murkowski and Collins. But boy, if I was the rhinos, we're talking, your headline here is rhino removal, I would be very concerned right now. Even Brad Raffensperger, who was the Secretary of State for Georgia, running for governor, I believe, he was knocked out yesterday. So what's that saying? Friends grow and enemies accumulate. Well, the rhinos have made a lot of enemies.
Well, don't you love how Lindsey Graham is getting really vocal, cheering on MAGA and Trump, trying so hard to, I'm not one of those guys, right?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah, we definitely know he is, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's had issues for the last 15 years that people did any research on him at all. The only time you see him is when he's running for office. And
well, plus, you know, I still am puzzled why Trump endorsed him. It's got to be a plan. Trump has got to obviously see what a piece of shit he is. I mean, he has to.
Well, he's over there with the Russians and what's this guy's name? That's the Khazarians. I mean, it's where they come from. I can't believe we gave them all that money. And they're gonna squeak now.
All right, if my co-host, just give me a sec. I gotta step away.
Marlon had posted in the space about the windmills that, and I'm just kind of going over, I'm just changing subjects for a second because Marlon thought it was important enough to post. But apparently some of these, this windmill company is really hemorrhaging profits. 80% of the windmills that they're putting out aren't even profitable at all. And he put in his lead that the taxpayers will be burdened by this. I haven't dug that deep into it, but if I were to sum it up, that some of the windmill industry itself is just not profitable at all. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there in case Marlon was listening and was going to take a mic.
Terry, it sounds to me like another one of the Democrats' scams to personally profit. It seems like all the stuff that they should bring to the table and say, oh, it's going to, help here, or it's going to do this, or it's going to do that. They end up profiting more than anybody else. All of this stuff is used for them to commit fraud, in my opinion.
1,000%. Joe Biden's advisor on green energy, was John Podesta. That's who ran that was his senior advisor. That was Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, and I believe Bill Clinton's chief of staff. The grift is huge on this green energy stuff. And I agree with you 100%, Nika. I think that the Democrats are peddling this. They know it's not that, it's not the end all that they claim for it to be, and they're getting rich off of this at the burden of the taxpayer.
Dude, I remember just growing up in the 70s, all the climate change BS. And before I was, going through that, look through history. They've used weather and climate so many times, over and over and over. It's gone from the ice age is coming to the global warming to back to the ice age. And, well, we're just going to call it climate change because obviously climate changes. But, hey, they can't be held accountable. Hey, we didn't say that it's global warming. We didn't say that it's we're just saying climate changes. You know what I mean? They always have an out. It's always straight BS.
Do you remember the acid rain? That was a part of their whole scam going they had there. Oh my gosh, we're all going to die from the acid rain.
Well,
yeah.
In the 70s, the best and brightest were saying we were going to turn into an ice cube. We were going to freeze to death,
Yeah, it's just such a grift because some people actually believe that crap, then they donate money to it. I mean, look at Greenpeace. Look at what a just disgusting, completely Marxist communist organization that is. And when you're kids, you were, they tried to promote it like, oh, let's save the planet and save these little animals that we care about, and it was just horseshit. Total horseshit, just like pita, right? Not pita bread, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, why would Barack Obama buy a beachfront home if he really believed that? And what does Al Gore know about meteorology? He was a senator out of Tennessee, and he got rich off of all that. It's fear. They gin up all this fear, all this fake fear, and it's always something invisible,
Right. That's a good point. It's always something you can't tangibly see. Right? Ooh, the acid rain's gonna come down and kill you. Oh, the climate's gonna change. Well, yeah, of course it does. Climate, that's what it does.
Yeah, I do remember the acid rain, Nika. God, it's always something with the left.
Somebody said the other day on some post that everybody grows up as a leftist for the idealism. Oh yes, let's save our planet and people. Let's just love everybody. And then when they grow up, hopefully, and get in reality, like, well, no. When you start working and paying taxes and living a real life, you start to realize that's a fantasy that's never going to happen, right?
Yeah, if you're not a liberal in your 20s, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative in your 40s, you don't have a brain. I think it's something like that.
It makes me think of the Wizard of Oz. No brain, no heart, right? No courage.
Well, if the average IQ is 100, then that must mean I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than anyone else, but if the average IQ is 100, That means a third of our population, in theory, might be below the waterline. You've got below average, average, and then above average. I would think that it's the below average folks that the Democrat Party kind of likes to draw in a little bit there.
That can't be true, Terry. It can't be an average of 100. I'm sorry, but
Well, academically, 100 is the average IQ. I think Donald Trump's about 165. I think the smartest man in Korea, South Korea, is 220. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out here, Truth.
Man, I know a lot of people will never see 100. If their target is 50, you're lucky. Sorry. Oh, Tin, what's going on, buddy?
I would say that if people really want to help the planet, let's get the government to release all the secret projects that have been kept from us, that related to free energy, free fuel, like the H2O engine, which does exist. The guy was poisoned. And stop hiding this stuff from us and get over their weird obsession of oil, because that's the reason it's been kept from us, because they want their oil industry to survive when we really didn't need it for over 100 years. Now, I'm not saying getting rid of oil altogether, but if you release a lot of these energies, our world would change for the better. And things would be a lot different. Things would be extremely a lot cheaper. And it's just they kept it from us because they were making too much money off the oil industry. And that whole industry in this game in itself. And I just want that stuff released so we can get, actually generate our own power, generate our own stuff, and be a lot more independent.
Yeah, I mean, the oil industry obviously is huge, and most products people don't even realize are petroleum based anyway, right? But the lie of the shortage of oil and all that crap, that's just like, that was a lie from the beginning. It's a very rare commodity, and it's just, come on, please. Is there a hand up? Hey, Russell.
Hey, the way I feel about the oil industry is the government again. They've got them, so they've stood on their neck for so long, and the oil industry owns part of the government, of course, and all the way since when it was first, Standard Oil, and it all comes back to the government. They've put fees on everything. You can't make a living without having to pay them. Nowadays is the money is not worth anything, and the cost is too damn high on everything. And nobody wants to give anybody a break. You know what I'm saying? It's if it wasn't for independents out there running small places and doing things just because it's the right thing to do, we would all be we'd be in hell.
Well, I mean, look at the power, though, Russell, that oil industry has. Not only, of course, prices of gas and all that kind of stuff, but when the fuel prices are affected, it affects everything else, the prices of everything, because how do we get things to the stores?
Right. The congressional people that are buying it, before it goes on sale, it's more corruption is what it is. It's another way to launder money, and they're all in on it.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
If you guys think about it this way, Nikola Tesla had a car and he made his own special battery, and it was being charged with an antenna from the atmosphere. And he pulled it up to JP Morgan because he wanted to show it off. And JP Morgan looked at him and said, if we can't put a meter on it, we don't want it. And if you take that expression that he said and kind of step back from our world for a second and just look around at everything that has a meter on it. You have a meter on your house for your power, a water meter. You have a meter on the gas pump that charges you for how much gallons of gas you buy. You have a meter on other items. And it really gets you, it really puts in perspective on how much they really control us through that meter. And when I found that one act in 1951 is called this, I think, Secrecy Invention Act of 1951, I believe. I'll have to look it up again. It's been a while. It allows the government to take any invention you make, and if they deem it quote unquote a threat to national security, they can take it and put it away, and you'll never see it again. And lucky if you get to live or if you disappear. And if you think about what JP Morgan said about having that meter and looking at all the things that affect us, it really starts making sense of why they've hidden a lot of these inventions from us, why a lot of these people disappeared, died mysteriously. Because, like Russell said, the oil industry controls part of our government. So if it affects them, they're going to use the government to basically stop that from happening. So it kind of shows the bigger picture in a way when you sit back and kind of look at it and make the connections to everything. And I'll land there for now.
And
Oh boy, we go down so many rabbit holes. What was that, Terry? Go ahead.
and why do they put the meters on things tinfoil?
Control.
Ding.
I know they charge us, but it's all about control.
It absolutely is. When the Democrats were in power under Biden, they were really pushing electric everything, and they were outlawing anything that could be gas powered, whether it was your stove, a weed eater, a mower. Think about that. And I've always felt that the Democrats were trying to replicate this Chinese social credit score system. Because if you're a good Chinese citizen and you support the CCP, man, you got a nice house, you got a nice car, you got a good job. You start pushing back on the CCP, you don't like it, man, you don't have a nice car, you don't have a good job, you don't have a nice house, and you might even find yourself in a prison camp. So I always felt, and this is just my opinion, that the Democrats were trying to lock us down with electric because if they saw something on X or on Facebook where we didn't like the Democrat in charge, we get our notification from the electric company, hey, yeah, we normally allow you, I don't know, having 3,000 kilowatts a month. You've now been reduced to 1,500. Well, if you have an electric car, guess what? You're not going to be able to go on vacation or something like that. Now, I know that seems like real paranoid thinking, but I never underestimate, a party that wants to totally control the people.
Well, you can go further down than that to a more simpler form. Look at how a narcissist acts toward their victim. It's all about control. It's about their reputation. And it's about what they want. And if you ever, and forgive me, if you ever tick off a narcissist and you are their victim, your life becomes a living hell. And they try to even gain more control over you. But if you ruin their reputation, they can't function. And if you look on how the left was acting, it was literally the complete definition of a narcissist. And if you look at, and if you zoom further out, it's a collection of narcissists. And it's like, holy crap. And then, because if you look at even in your society, we all heard about them before. The neighborhood Karen, the neighborhood Chad, the one that comes over and says, your grass is 1 inch taller than it should be. I'm reporting you to the city. That's the narcissist. They try to insert control over you because they can't stand something about their life that they can't affect, but they can affect you. And, but yeah, I've been studying a lot about narcissists lately.
That's a plague on our society today.
Yeah, it really is tinfoil. And the narcissistic person, I think there's 4 syllables in that pronunciation, but they'll actually create the scenario to make you look bad when you haven't done anything wrong. And then when you react to it, they focus on how you're reacting to make you look like the offender when they were the true offender in the beginning. It's just really crazy how they think. And political power draws a lot of these types of people because they want to control people.
Yeah, I mean, we all as human beings have an ego, obviously, but they're finding that balance and having some damn humility, right, and grace, that doesn't come, that sense of morality doesn't come from man, doesn't come from ourselves, it comes from a higher power. And obviously you can tell if somebody really doesn't have a higher power guiding them, right? That narcissism is so bad. It's just about me, and my, and I. It's sickening.
Well, I agree with you. We're commanded to love one another, right? And what these narcissistic people do is the act itself is acting in direct contradiction to that contradiction to that. So therefore, I guess what I'm saying is be who you want to be, but don't hurt other people. Don't cause other people harm. You know, that's just sick. That's just sick, twisted thinking.
It is. I see we got a new speaker that came up, if I pronounce it right, Gino. Go ahead. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, hey, great space as usual. Long time listener. I don't speak too often. We're talking about narcissists and stuff, and I like to try to point out at times, I like to point out that it's not just the narcissist, like, Pelosi herself and most of our Congress and I mean, I even consider big business narcissists like Bezos and the Apple guy, Google, and all that. But anyway, having said that, I saw a video a while ago. Nancy Pelosi, she was actually outside in public, and she was walking really slow, and she had what looked like 6 bodyguards, and she was going from somewhere into her car. And after seeing that, I thought, it's not just the narcissists themselves; it's their handlers that we need to blame as well. That they're just as, because they're being paid by Pelosi to help her. Well, those people are narcissists too. I mean, you might disagree, but I think anybody that handles these people, all of Biden's handlers and people in the media, in mainstream media, I think that all those people need to be pointed out at times too, because it's without those people's help, these head honcho people, they lose their power. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. That's all.
Well, I mean, it's definitely more oligarchy sounding, and you know what I mean, which I totally believe. I mean, we know this country was formed as a constitutional republic. Most dummies refer to it as a democracy, but the unfortunate reality, especially with Obama, when he was placed in office, it's an oligarchy. Meaning that, the people behind the scenes that we don't know, that we never see, they're the ones pulling the strings and telling what to do. So absolutely handlers of these, for lack of a better description, these famous people in office, they get all the attention and whatnot. Yeah, they are completely handled and completely told what to do and what to say and how to say it. I mean, the perfect example is AOC. As dumb as she really is, I mean, she really doesn't know the first thing about our Constitution, just nothing. She was placed. She's easily controlled and manipulated. I mean, she was a freaking bartender, for crying out loud, and but yeah, prime example of what you're describing. Go ahead, Tim.
I also want to say I agree with Gino there, and I hope I said it right. Narcissists will find other narcissists and help each other because it helps both of them gain more power if they can team up and go after the victims more. And I have seen that. I hate using this example, but I use my other half's parents for an example because both of them are narcissists, and my other half's been awesome showing me examples of what narcissists are and how they act, and I've been able to like observe them in action. And Gino's right. They do team up to help each other because it helps one gains more power for both of them, but two, it makes it harder for the victim to fight back because they're not fighting just against one; they're now fighting against two or more. And so, yeah, I agree to that too.
It's funny as you guys are talking, I'm trying to go down the timeline and read some other stuff. It's so funny. Somebody put of all the birds in the world, funny how the only birds they kill because of the quote unquote bird flu are chickens. And then of all the animals in the world, funny how the only animal farts that they're concerned of that cause global warming are cow farts. The two proteins that we eat most. No coincidence there. It's a funny post.
There's no coincidences. It's all they're schemers, man. They always scheming something.
Yeah. It can be fun to come in here and talk about this stuff, hopefully though we do our best to steer people at least in the right direction. I can't emphasize enough, if you do love this country, you do want to protect it, and you do believe in what it is, please read about it. Read about, we'll start with the Constitution, but really just actually start with the Declaration of Independence. And then Articles of Confederation is actually worth reading because it was kind of the preamble to our Constitution being formed. It was a temporary Constitution, if you will. And then, of course, your state Constitution. Try to, if you can, get the original version. It should be on your state website to show you all the changes since. And then if you really want to get into it, like Bill brought up earlier, all the technicalities of all these different positions in your local communities. This is where getting into reading the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, which were basically the papers going back and forth during the Constitution ratification. These are important things to understand. You got to understand the depth and how much was put into the formation of this country and the foresight, the absolute. It's almost like they had a time machine back in the day because the foresight that they had, especially with something like the Electoral College, which of course Democrats are trying to abolish, which they've already almost completely gotten rid of anyway, because only 2 states left in the Union even use the Electoral College the way it was designed. So, I mean, these are things that, again, sound boring. Nobody wants to know about it. Nobody wants to do the research. Humans have become so damn lazy. If they don't see it on their timeline, so they can just simply like and repost it, it doesn't mean anything to them. So how do we do that? Well, I just like to remind people when you're in the space, like, I just want to challenge you, go out and research and read and educate yourselves a little bit more so you can have not only intelligent conversation, but you have the ammo if you need to fight back when some idiot says something that's completely false, which we get a lot of those in these spaces, by the way.
Right on. When you look at the Declaration of Independence, it's an amazing piece of work, and it's not a hard read. It's not a long read. Our framers didn't. It's not a technical manual. I mean, they wrote it in a way that anybody can pick it up and read it. Paragraph 3: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I mean, it's brilliant. And like I mentioned yesterday, when Benjamin Franklin, after they had all inked the deal, he said, we're all going to have to hang together, because if we don't, we're going to hang individually. I mean, they put everything on the line. Our troops, look, World War II, the lives, the blood that was spilled in Europe and in the Pacific, so that we can be free. We can live in a free country.
Also, Terry, to kind of add what you're saying, so the simplicity of it, right? You can read the Declaration of Independence in a few, 10, 15 minutes, right? It's so simple. Constitution as well, maybe 30 minutes. You can read the whole document. So how in the hell did we get to a place where a piece of shit like Pelosi is trying to push through Congress a 10,000 page document, right? Sorry to jump in there, but I mean, like, where'd the simplicity go? Why does it have to be 10,000 pages of something nobody will ever read that's hiding a bunch of total demonic Marxist bullshit, right?
Well, that's part of how they operate. They confuse their constituents. I mean, I've listened to them talk and was more confused after they spoke than before they started speaking. And Nancy Pelosi, her dad was the mayor of Baltimore. She comes from a long line of politics, and she lives in San Francisco area. And when she retires, her and Paul are going to move to Florida. So they wrecked their entire district, and they're going to see refuge in a Republican state.
Well, Paul ain't going anywhere. Trust me. That marriage was long over a long time ago. Unless they bring his little boy with them. You know what I mean? The guy that supposedly broke in, whatever the heck was going on.
Well, I've read up a little bit on that, and I don't know if the sourcing's good enough, but supposedly there was stuff like this always going on at the Pelosi house. The police were aware of it. They get calls over there. So it wasn't like, something that wasn't kind of happening consistently.
Yeah, the sickness that goes on behind the scenes of the elites. God, if people only knew.
The suspect in that case, I think, didn't he get life? You talk about getting J6, man, that guy got life for whatever it was that he did. If I've read it right.
Yeah, who knows? Because, we're bombarded with so much crap. The 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, to where everybody seems to forget, But then we look. Oh, by the way, speaking of people forgetting, anything going on with the Tina Peters thing? I know we heard stuff kind of last week. Is there any progress with that?
Well, I posted in the Pill a day or two ago that she's supposed to be released June 1st. And there's, at least that I could find on a search, at least 8 or 9, 10 different news agencies reporting on it, from the New York Times down to a local Colorado paper. The Guardian reported on it, BBC reported on it. So apparently she will be released on the 1st. She'll be on probation, parole. She'll still be a convicted felon, but she's supposed to be out of the prison system by June 1st.
Wow. Oh boy, I'm wondering who's paying her top dollar to get the first interview and all that kind of crap. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Truth. You just said something, Truth. I didn't write it down, and I tried to find it. And now I forgot what I was looking for. You just mentioned something about you made a post about it. Just before that, you were saying, which piped me in. You said that the stuff, politics, it can be very complicated and convoluted and locally, and and then you said something which was very seemed very important to me, and you said you posted it. What the heck was it?
About cow farts?
Yeah. That's right. It was about the chickens. Yeah, so the chickens and the cows. That those are maybe somebody else just before you said that that the chicken and the cows. That's the only animals that the World Health Organization or somebody came against and said the chickens, there's a problem with chickens, and then that the cows need to be, like population control for the humans. We also need to do that for the cows because there's too many of the cows. Where's that post? Is there some more information you can give me on that?
I reposted it. It's from Wall Street Mav, I guess is the profile that put it up there. But again, it was obviously just more comedic, but true. Where it said, of all the birds in the world, funny how the only birds that they killed because of the quote unquote bird flu are chickens. And of all the animals in the world, funny how the only animal farts that cause global warming are cow farts. Two things that, of course, we eat most and count on for our protein intake. So that's what it was.
You look at these things as, maybe coincidental, but I think it's a lot more important than that. And, we need to, problem is we're not connecting the dots because there's too many issues, and, our people brains can only handle, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 things at a time. Too many issues going on, and we're letting things slip through the cracks because we're not organized enough.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the entire point, right? They, like I said so many times in here, the left, the elite, whatever the heck we want to call it, the deep state. One of the things they've studied the most is the human condition, psychology, whatever you want to call it, right? So the bombardment of keeping people's minds preoccupied, the next story, all the crap, like you're saying, it's just meant to confuse so that we lose sight of, wait a minute, what were we talking about? You just gave the example, like what was the thing you just said? There's so much crap coming at us. It's like, well, what is crap and what isn't? What's worth looking at? What's not? And filtering through that, I believe that discernment only comes from God, at least for me. So prayer, reading the Bible, that helps me discern between what really is good or evil, what's worth putting my attention to. The worldly things aren't worth it, quite frankly. But this is a spiritual battle. It always has been, it always will be. So a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have discernment. They get caught up in this stuff. And some people get really passionate about some kind of thing that they, want to stand for, which, good on you if that's your thing. But be really wary and careful of what you're focusing on, right? I believe that we get what we focus on most, whether bad or good. If you're focusing on how unhealthy you are or how things are bad or whatever, you're only perpetuating it and giving it more energy versus the opposite. We should focus on what we want, not what we don't want. I don't know if I'm making sense. I hope I am.
No, that, of course, that makes sense. And, I'm pretty involved with my church. And, I I tell you, so I talk some politics stuff at my church, though. And people, after a while, they told me, Bill, you got to stop talking about this stuff. Like, nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares. So, I would submit to you, Truth, and to everybody in the space here. I totally agree with you. Some things you got to leave in God's hands, and some things are bigger than us, and some other things don't matter. Back to my little soapbox and my little Dan Schultz precinct strategy. It's not complicated. Understanding that, it's not complicated. Understand how the parties work and how the Republican Party could work. It doesn't. People talk about, and I think that the title of the space here is, rhino removal. I don't think it's so much about removing rhinos as it is about putting in people, putting in the right people. And, like I said, I'm involved with my church, and, I'm a praying guy, and, my faith is important to me. But I tell you, you know, there's stuff that's going on out there that people don't understand. So people don't understand how these committees, how the committee should work, how their party could work. People don't understand it. And, you know, other people don't want to be bothered because, you know, they just like, you know, they like doing the things that they want to do. And, you know, we're not, people don't understand. I mean, so the first thing is people got to understand the way the party could work. And when you talk about all the vacancies that you have in the committee roles in the Republican Party, you know, there's an opportunity to make things work better. But when you talk about it, everybody's like, you know, they want to talk about something else.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why churches typically don't like to talk politics, but
And I'm sorry to just drop the mic like that, but you know, this is how the party could work. You know, I might not have my volume.
No, I got you.
Yeah. So you know, it's just amazing. It's either an extreme level of ignorance or it's an extreme level of, you know, the shiny object is over there somewhere and everybody's looking over there.
But Bill, look at the conditioning that has been going on for decades, like over 100 years. It's been conditioning to dumbify people, to simplify, even beyond simplify. Simplify would be a good thing, kind of, but it's dumbifying, completely taking it out to where people just don't understand it and have made it so convoluted and confusing that people don't want to understand it. You see what I mean, Bill?
Yeah, I to some degree, but I just, you know, when I talk about precinct strategy, when I talk about, you know, how I could see the Republican Party working, a lot of people, I can tell they're not following, they're not tracking my conversation.
Sure, and unfortunately, rightfully so, because like I just said, they've been dumbified. You especially younger people of a younger generation that didn't grow up like you did, they really don't have a clue on how their local cities work or their counties, much less the state or federally. They just don't. They've never read the Constitution. They don't know the Declaration of Independence. They refer to our country as a democracy. You're not going to appeal to them. You're just not. They don't care because they've been programmed not to care.
But
right.
But I think the precinct strategy is something that's a lot simpler than, you know, understanding the Constitution and understanding how anybody's local government works. I mean, the precinct strategy, it's a very simple thing. I think. I mean, unless am I wrong?
Oh, again, if you're talking about precinct strategies to someone who has no idea of politics as a whole, and again, to simplify what I'm saying, my point being, they think our country's a democracy. You're adding something to where there's nothing. You know, there's no baseline. There's nothing for them to actually hold on to begin with. So now you're adding on something that there's no reference. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are, Truth. And Bill, it's not that your points aren't valid as to precinct strategy and local government and all that. It just, I don't know how I can word this. You know, there's a certain percent of people that follow politics, and there's a certain percent of people that are just complacent about politics. They lead their lives, they go to work, they buy their stuff, they go on vacation, you know, and then you have the people that are on the left that are just animate about, you know, their point of view. They hate Trump, orange man, bad, you know. So I know what you're saying. I know what Truth's saying. I'm just not quite sure how to bring it all into you know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and Jeannie, if I could just add one more thing here. So, you know, I'm not talking about all the Republicans in New Jersey, or you know, or half of the Republicans in New Jersey, or 1/10 or 1% of the Republicans in New Jersey, or 1% of the Republicans in your town. the precinct strategy is 0.001% of the Republicans. I mean, how small of a number is the committeemen in your voting district? I mean, it's such a small number. And when you talk, and then so, and I'm not talking about, you know, people that I meet. I gave you this story. People that I meet, I knock on their door, and because I'm campaigning for myself or some other conservative candidates, and I have a conversation with them, and you know, they're like, "Wow, this is interesting." And then when I contact them shortly after, they're like, you know, "Oh, sorry, I don't have it." They're obviously, they don't say it, but they obviously don't have the time. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people like all the people in this space, people that, you know and understand some level of politics to some definite degree. I'm talking about, you know, the 1% of people that are engaged, they still don't seem to understand the precinct strategy, which is 1/50th of 1%. It's a very small amount. The committee people that would be the committee men for their district. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Sorry, I can't get to my mic. Jeannie, did you have your hand up? Did you want to comment?
Yeah, so this is very, very important. So when I went back to church, I determined that what God wanted me to do was smack everybody upside the head and wake them up, because they kind of go into their own lives and do their own thing, and they are focused on the church and they really don't understand what's really going on. So I know that the whole purpose for me to go back was to wake them up. And I did that because of COVID. But then it transitioned into, do you understand what's going on in our schools? Do you understand what's going on in our city council? Do you understand that the college professors are all the ones sitting on our city council? Are you freaking kidding me? And so the politics came into it. But let me tell you what happened. The synod determined that we should not mix politics with our theology. And that blew up in their face. You have to pay attention to what Caesar is doing. That's part of our job. So how can they say we have to keep the two separate? No, you've got to understand what's going on in your town, in your city, in your square, and be a part of it and snap out of it. So the last thing I said to Pastor, and I was more than an annoyance to Pastor and the elders, because I had to wake them up to COVID, to child trafficking, to what was happening. There was a lot to wake them up about. And I figured by the time I was done with them over the last few years, okay, they're awake. Now it's on them. You know, the last thing I said to my pastor was, you got to get your men involved in politics. They need to be the ones sitting on the school board and on city council. Good luck. And that's where I was at. So I think the churches have been, falling down on the job for a number of years. And they kind of relied on that being politically correct, right? Be politically correct, be kind, but at the same time, you forgot all about the discipline. You forgot about the tradition. There's a reason why we do things a certain way from a traditional point of view, because that tradition meant something. It symbolized something. And when you want,
We're losing you again, Jeannie.
I was wondering if that was me.
tradition,
No, it's not you. Jeannie, we're losing you. I'm sorry.
How about now?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you. Now we don't.
Now the mic's off.
So Jeannie, Jeannie was saying, you know, get the men involved in your church. And Truth, you're saying, you know, God is in control. I'm saying that this is a very small thing, like, you know, the precinct strategy, you know, the Republican Party, it's a very small part of our lives. And you just want to find a few people. It's very small. I mean, understand, Dan Schultz has got it on his precinct strategy website. You know, there's 400,000 seats out of how many Republicans in the nation? I don't know. What is there? 20 million? I don't know. What is there? How many Republicans? So, you know, 400,000 out of 20 million, that's a pretty small number. So, you know, you got to find, and we don't have, you know, good conservatives in the Republican Party. And that's why people are frustrated. That's why people say, you know, I'll leave it in God's hands because it doesn't look like there's any solution. I don't think that's the right approach to take. I don't know. What say you?
That's not what I'm saying at all. Not even remotely close. Not even remotely. I'm saying when you're talking about in-depth strategies, political strategies, and someone has nothing as a foundation and thinks our country's a democracy, you're pissing in the wind. You're not going to make sense to anybody who has no foundation. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but you're talking about, you know, the masses. And I'm not talking about the masses. And I'm not talking about the Republicans. I mean, because the Republicans in my town is about, we're about a quarter of the voting members in my town, the Republicans. I think we have 5,000 Republicans out of 40,000 registered voters. 5,000. So, I mean, that's less than a quarter. Because I don't even think we have 10,000 Republicans in my town of 40,000 registered voters. I could be wrong, but we certainly don't have more than you know, more than 8,000. I mean, there's not even 1/3. I mean, there's more than 1/3 Democrat. There's more than 1/3 unaffiliated, and there's much less than 1/3 Republican. And that's not the point. That's not the target audience. Is the Republicans. The target audience is the people who, you know, who are constitutionally in New Jersey, the people who are constitutionally the voting members of the Republican Party in their districts. So it's not a matter of communicating to the masses. It's not a matter of communicating to my church. I mean, you know, my church, God bless them, they have their mission, and the mission is faith. And, you know, it's not a, you know, strictly political mission. They talk about, you know, pro-life issues a lot, and that's great. But the party is the people who run the party, and the people who run the party, you know, are not, you know, we don't know. The people who run the party are very, you know, different from. Well, I'm not making any sense now. Yeah.
It's all right. Take a break, Bill. Yeah. Take a break. It's okay, bud. Collect your thoughts. Let's hear from Tim. We'll come back to you, Bill. No worries, bud.
I was going to say, Jeannie, if you can still hear me, I'm not sure if you're still there or not. But if you want to help slap those guys across the face to wake them up, you can tell them, it's like, why do I know a gay man who's working with parents to teach them how to protect their kids online, and you guys are still sitting here not doing anything? That might wake them up, and that might get their attention. So feel free to use that if you need to.
I absolutely will, and thank you very much.
All right, Bill, to get your collective thoughts together.
I'm breaking up a little myself. You know, Yeah, I'm having a call come in. Hold, let me get right back to you.
All right. So we are going to end the space relatively soon here. I know that Marlon obviously isn't running the space, and hopefully, I think he said he might be able to do it tomorrow. So if you're looking forward to Marlon hosting, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but from what I remember, he said possibly tomorrow he can do this. But we do appreciate everybody who does come in and support the space, whether Marlon's hosting it or not. It doesn't mean a lot. I don't know if he's going to take a mic, but Nika, do you mind kind of reminding people about all the stuff to do?
Okay, if you haven't already, please go down to the little purple pill and like and share the space out. And if you're on X or X, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, please feel free to go over there and subscribe to our channel as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Nika. You're so much nicer at asking than I am. But yeah, I mean, this is where it gets, for me personally, it gets dry as much as I'm active in my local community and doing my best to, voice what I see wrong, talk to the local politicians. I know them on first name basis. They know me. Hopefully y'all are doing that. It always does start local. That's one thing we've been very consistent on in this space is that whatever changes you want to see happen, if you're not working with your local city and or county, and then leading up to the state and federal, then you're going about it a little backwards. We always have to be local. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I see Marlon. I'm seeing if it's Shell's in here. Hey, Shell. Let's see if Marlon might take a mic. If not, we'll start to wind down. If there's anything else that anybody wants to cover, please feel free.
Well, I had mentioned earlier that Marlon had posted something about the windmills, and I want to just make a correction. It was a little vague on it. It says here that in 2024, a Swedish wind power producer lost about 620 million euro, and the sector's profit margin fell to minus 51%. And it says, why would anybody want to build more wind under these circumstances is beyond my understanding. So basically, these windmill companies, wind power producers are 85% of them are losing money. 80% of them are operating at a loss. And I just wanted to make that correction because when I came in earlier and mentioned what I had seen Marlon post, I wasn't referencing the article directly, and I just wanted to make that correction. And yesterday when I was talking, we were talking about the 4 meat producers, and I said that Marco Rubio is our national security advisor. That was partially true. He not only is he our Secretary of State, but he is the acting national security advisor for Donald Trump since Mike Walls went to be an ambassador, I believe, for the UN. And just a couple little clarifications I want to make there, Drew.
That's cool. Yeah, wearing multiple hats. That's kind of common, right? Especially when you're in the military or federal government.
Right. Well, if I say something, I don't want to say something if I don't, think it has a high degree of truthfulness. And if I'm not sure on the source, I'll say I'm not sure on this source or this is being reported as or whatever. But I just want to make sure I get it out there right.
Well, have you heard anything from Bill Clinton at all? Because I know he's probably got a lot going on. All these people losing their seats and stuff.
So, I grew up in Hove, Arkansas, and I still believe in hope for America. And my mother, she wanted me to enter the ministry, and I did go to church. The spirit was willing, but man, the flesh was really weak. And I have made some bad decisions. One being I married the devil in the moo almost 50 years ago. You know, when we had our wedding, my mother came up and she was crying. I said, "You're happy for me, aren't you, Mom?" She goes, "No, Billy. I don't like her. She's a fraud. She's a liar. What is with that smell?" I said, "I know that smell. I feel your pain." We were going to have an outdoor wedding, but then we remembered that whenever we're outdoor, the buzzards, they'd like to come down and swoop down. And we didn't want them coming down on the guests because of that smell. But I will say this, when I was president, I was tough on the border. I remember in my State of the Union, I said, although we're a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. I had 3 strikes and you're out. Jaywalking, that's the first strike. Shoplifting, that's the second. Sell some of the devil's lettuce, that's the third. You go to prison for life. So I was tough on crime. And I just want to close by saying I'm the last president that balanced the budget. And our nation had a surplus. $290 billion when I left. And no Republican or Democrat can say that since then. Last, my foundation's not doing very well, Truth. Ever since she's been out of politics, it's just almost bone dry. It's like Lake Mead right now. Any contributions would be appreciated, and they're all tax deductible. God bless you all, and God bless this space.
Well, my goodness, it's always fun to have former President Clinton in the space. We know that's not true, but hey, Apothecary, I saw jumped in here. I don't know if she wants to take a mic, but we are fixing to slow this here down and stop the space. But I know health wise, we normally spend some time in our spaces talking about our overall health. And if you're not following Miss Apothecary, you should, because she puts out all. If you want to, before we kind of say our goodbyes.
Yeah, Carol, she runs a great Sunday space. She had one this weekend that I listened to. She's really a wonderful person and a great nurse, and she knows so much. Matter of fact, Carol, if you're listening, I almost broke in his bill and said, you know, Carol, I'm 79 and I'm peeing in 3 streams. If there's anything you could recommend for me, my prostate's having problems. But I was afraid to do it for fear that it just might totally take your space off the rails.
That's funny. Good morning, Apothecary.
Good morning. Y'all are so sweet. I was stopping in just because I'm driving to a patient. It's like, oh, let's just see what's going on with the gangs this morning. And I really didn't even have much time anyway. It seems like I'm always catching your space just as it closes. My mornings are pretty jam packed, but just thank you so much for those words of encouragement. Like that's the kind of stuff that just kind of keeps me going. You know, I read something this morning that really struck me, and I'm just going to share it with everybody and just take it as you will. It may be helpful for some people, but it said, if you don't teach truth, someone else will teach lies. And that really hit me in the heart because there's been so many lies that we have been taught for so many decades in the healthcare industry. And I just, I had to really take that to heart. And yeah, just, I don't know, maybe that'll help someone else too. But thank you. And maybe tomorrow I can get in there a little earlier. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to wind it down, but thank you for coming up. And that's really great advice. I think in every aspect, not just health, right? There's so many lies out there. And if we don't combat it with truth, then we're kind of doomed and people will start to believe it. They believe it all the time. These lies are just perpetuated all the time. And yeah, absolutely about our health. What a sick industry it's become, the quote unquote health care industry. God forbid they call it the healing industry. They'd be out of business, right?
Well, and
that's why they
go ahead, Truth.
No, I was just saying that's why they call it a practice. They're practicing medicating people. Enough with the practice. How about I'm doing it. I'm healing somebody. That was it.
Gotcha. Well, a lie can also be an omission, like omitting things. And like when Carol puts on her spaces, she talks in a way that you can understand about real things that, like, for example, you have used this example, Truth, that we only come into this world with our body and we leave with our body. If I can pick up something from Carol's space that can extend my life, even just a few more years, that's more time with my kids, my grandkids, better quality life. And if we are being lied to, there's probably a good chance it's because it's a pharmaceutical company or a big food that it's so that they're more profitable. I'll just stop there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's always a challenge I love to throw out there, especially when we got Carol in here to back it up. But the one thing that you actually only own your entire life is your body. And little that people know about their own body, it's I guess you could say it's scary and also sad. Of all the crap that sports statistics, car makes and models, and blah 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 blah, but you can't even point to every organ in your body. I mean, could people actually list it? Can you point to where your heart is? Because if I ask everybody to point to where their heart is, most people will point to the left side of their chest. Totally wrong. It's dead center. Believe me, I've been there. Open heart surgery. Your heart's right in the middle. I can guarantee it. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, no, you're right. The reason we kind of sense it to the left is because that bottom kind of apex down at the bottom kind of tilts over to the left a little bit, so it's easier to hear it with the stethoscope over on the left side a lot of times, and so that's kind of why we think of it that way. But it's dead center, but that sternum, that bone's kind of in the way when we're trying to listen.
Right.
And you're right. Our body, that's all we get as far as tangible things that you can, touch. That's all we have throughout our entire life. How many cars? I say this a lot. How many cars are you going to own, in your life? How many cell phones? How many televisions? And some people will own more than one home in their life. And we take better care of those things, and we're willing to upgrade or just spend a little bit more money on a better one than we are in investing in the health of not just our body, but our mind and our spirit as well, our complete health, this vessel that we have to travel through life with. And that's really kind of what I try to help people understand. You can throw up in the hood of my car and I'm not going to be able to point to my carburetor but I can just take it to somebody and they can fix that for me. And as long as I'm doing my upkeep and maintenance on my car, it runs good, and I can keep it going for quite a while, but probably not forever, especially with these newer cars. I just don't know about these computers in these cars. But with our body, um, we can't just drive it in to some place and leave it and say, I'll come back and get it later, just fix it. It's on us to do the things that are needed to keep this thing healthy. And if it does, get glitchy or need some repair work or whatever, we have to be the ones to follow through with that, whatever needs to happen to make that repair successful. So we really do need a little bit more understanding about our bodies than we do about our cars or our phones or anything else. And we can't just replace them. Can't just, I'm done with that one. It's too much to fix, cost too much to fix it. I'm just going to get a new one. Can't do that.
Well, it's funny, Carol, that you bring up the car. I think maybe I prompted, but a car's engine and how it actually works is very much based on the human body and the heart. It's amazing how amazing our human bodies are. Just 1 second of life, still to this day, can actually not be defined. They still don't understand what keeps us alive. And no one wants to acknowledge the spirit that fills our body and gives it life, right? But anyway, I know Sunny came up too. Go ahead, Sunny.
Hi. I could not find the space this morning. And when I looked down recently, there was only 24 people that posted. So if everybody could repost the space, that'd be great, because I couldn't find it. And I put it in the Purple Pill. Apothecaryl's space on Sunday was mind-blowing, amazing about Akkermansia. It's a probiotic that our bodies are lacking and that they don't talk about because it really helps support our body in so many ways. So I listened to it twice. I think everybody in the world should listen to this space. It was amazing of information. And I've already started the supplement to see of the probiotic to see if it actually helps support my body get healthier. So that's what I wanted to add. And if you want to talk further about it, but I didn't want to blow up the space just talking about it, but I shared it and I think everybody should listen to it. Thanks for
good.
Speak.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shared it. I was just going to say that did you share it? I'm good. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, it's amazing. We hear about bifidobacteria. We hear about lactobacillus. If you pick up your probiotic bottles, if you've got probiotics in the house, you're going to see those on there and some others, but you're never going to find Akkermansia on your probiotic bottle unless you do like Sunny and you specifically go hunting for it. There's so much information. After the space, Maria and I had a conversation, and there was so much that we did not cover about Akkermansia in that space that we're looking for a time to do part 2. So we're gonna and I mean, like my schedule for my spaces June is completely taken up, so I might have to actually reschedule for something out of June to get it worked in. And but yeah, there's going to be a part 2 to the Akkermansia, so having part 1 under your belt will be helpful for part 2. But it really is quite remarkable, the information that we're never told about, and we're actually, even if there is discussion about it, and even if there are studies about it, we see where industry or 3-letter corporations come in and say, "Oh, no, that's BS. Don't pay any attention to that. We're going to shove that over to the side and tell you it's horse paste," or whatever they're going to tell you, So it kind of is on those of us that are able to get in there and speak the truth and teach the truth, or people will be in there telling lies, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, 100%, Carol. Either speak the truth or someone's going to fill that vacuum with lies. Your health is your wealth, really, when you get down to it. Paul Allen was a co-founder of Microsoft, worth billions of dollars. And he died of cancer in his 60s. And I remember he was giving an interview after he'd been diagnosed and realized his days were numbered. And he was like, "I'm one of the wealthiest men in the world, and I can't fix this. There's no amount of money that I've got that will resolve this health issue." So I think what you're doing is great. Anything that we can either not put in our body or put in our body that will help our quality of health and possibly extend our life, that's fantastic, Carol.
Sorry, I was on another page. Yeah, we always love it. The things that we try to obviously cover in this space, lots of politic crap, but if we're not healthy, then we can't really fight for what's right? So keeping our bodies strong is such an important part of us fighting the good fight. Go ahead, Carol.
Well, to Terry's point about extending life by chronological time, like the pharmaceutical industry and modern medicine has actually been able to do some of that. They've life expectancy now is higher than it was, 100 years ago. The issue, when you stop and really look at it carefully, is the quality of that extra time. It is not good. I like, when I think in my mind, what do I want my last year of life to look like? It does not include wheelchairs, diapers, and pureed food. All right, I want to be active. I want to be as independent as possible. That's going to mean that I have to stay strong and not be burdened with a lot of pharmaceutical medications that have side effects and so forth, okay? Because a lot of those side effects will weaken you tremendously. So it's not, to me, it's what's important is not just the number of years that I live, because that's in God's hand. He already knows the answer to that question. But what quality of years do I want to experience, and how, useful will I have purpose to each day getting up? So yeah, there's a lot of things, and I think it's useful and helpful for people to stop and ask that question: what do I want the last year of my life to look like? And then start tracking that backwards. What about the last 2 years? What about the last 5 years? How do I want these things to look? And what am I willing to do to make that become a reality for myself? That's just how I look at it.
Yeah,
It's a great way to look at it. Go ahead, Terry.
I hate that pause. I'm sorry to keep walking on you, Truth. I don't even know how I could even highlight what Carol just said. That every point she made was valid. Equality is so important.
Yes, it is. It's a good, refreshing way to kind of try to wind up our space here, talking about our health overall. And yeah, like I said earlier, if you're not following Apothecary, you really should, especially if you want to do anything to stay healthy or get healthy, right? She's one of many good people out there that are doing good work and putting good, truthful information out there. And we always say, verify, do the research on your own. Hopefully these things inspire people to look deeper into their body and like the heart. When I was a medic, I got really fascinated with the study of the heart itself. I mean, just that one organ alone it's so fascinating. I used to volunteer with a really well-known pathologist and do autopsies and stuff like that. And man, the human body it's unreal. When you can actually cut open a heart, cut it in half on a cadaver, of course, and look at all the different chambers and how it works. For me, I don't know about you, Apothecary, but I mean, I'm in awe of how amazing our bodies are.
You can even go deeper. Look at the cell, a human body cell, and start learning about each of the different organelles contained within that cell, from the cell wall all in. And eventually you're going to get to the DNA, and that's going to really tie you up for a considerable amount of time learning about that. But it's truly amazing, and we can get in there, we can start learning and digging and exploring, and then get really, really overwhelmed by the information. Go, well, I don't know what to do with all this. But it's actually quite simple how to take care of this very, very complex thing that we call the human body. And the human body, if I say the body, I cannot ignore the mind. I cannot ignore the spirit, because they all interplay with each other. If my spiritual health sucks, my physical health is not going to be good for very long. So it's a matter of, keeping it all balanced, but it's easier than we think, especially when we start getting real sciencey and doing like you do, Truth, and studying this and studying that. We can blow our minds with this and say, this is too complicated, but it's not. The basics of keeping these things healthy are actually, there's only 6 things to remember, and just keeping those 6 things good and strong, like you're golden.
Well, don't leave people in suspense. I mean, you got to list the 6 things, whether you put it down the pill or you say it.
Look, I'm looking down the people that are in this space. Everybody's heard me say this a jillion times. They know your food. And it's what you eat and the quality of what you eat. But everything you put in your mouth, that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be, well, I'm not going to list them in any order of importance. I'm just going to get the 6 of them spit out of my mouth. But food, sunshine, your social connections, including, and I'm gonna throw your spiritual connections in there as well. So if you have a good spiritual practice, if you're seeing people and have good healthy relationships with people, nurturing those things. Sleep quality, very, very important. Movement, your movement is going to help spiritual, mental, and physical health. It's not just all physical. And then hydration. Is that my sixth one? Did I catch them all? I think that's it.
All right, you definitely got to hydrate. That's actually one of the major issues because most of the water that people are drinking is so unhealthy. It's so bad. Little pinch of salt goes a long way, and real salt, not that nasty crap. Go ahead, Jeannie.
I just want to say that God loves the original gangster nurses like none other. And Carol is one of those OG nurses because it all goes together. Mental, physical, spiritual, and financial health, it all goes together. And if you have one of the legs missing, you're going to weaken the other three. So that's all I had to say. Thank you, and I wanted to say thank you, Matthew. You're just lovely. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Doing my best just to keep my sanity and not go off on people because running these spaces is kind of a pain in the ass, as I'm sure Apothecary knows too. I was on the watch, like, all right, what's this profile all about? Yeah, that holistic medicine, right? A lot of people think it can be airy-fairy, but really, if you do have a practitioner who's keeping all of these things in mind about your overall health, and like to back up what you're saying, Apothecary, about the simplicity, surprisingly, of course, the complexity when you really get into it and go down to the cellular level, yeah, absolutely. The human body is mind-blowing. It just makes you affirm that there is a God that created us, right? But the simplicity of keeping our bodies together, it's amazing how much the body can do and does do on its own daily to keep that state of homeostasis going. But the powers that be, knowing that, have done such a tremendous job destroying our bodies. And for a while there, they were just kind of doing it on a gradual, slow basis to slowly kill you, make you dependent, make you need to go get some certain drugs. And then, of course, there's going to be side effects of that drug that's going to affect your liver more than likely, or your kidneys. So you got to take another drug, and then, you got to take another drug to over counter that drug. And then, there's contraindications when you mix these drugs with that. It's just like, my goodness. Let's get back to the simplicity of our bodies. And yes, it's a holistic approach. If your spirit is hurt, if you're just emotionally drained, your body's going to be affected. There's no question about that. None whatsoever. Right? Or vice versa. If your body's hurting, but your spirit's good, it'll actually help heal your body a lot quicker. But I know, Apothecary, we can talk till we're blue in the face about this, and some people hear, some people don't. But I always challenge people: learn about your body, please. The simplicity of it is amazing, no matter how complex it is. Like I said, I was fascinated by the heart. The fact that people think it's on the left side. Yes, well, the way the heart is actually placed in the center of your chest, the left ventricle being the most powerful and biggest ventricle of the four chambers of your heart, you're going to feel it on the left side of your chest because your heart's kind of like, spun right there in the middle of your chest, and just understanding how it works and how your lungs, a lot of people think your lungs are kind of like a baggie, with air. No, your lungs are actually full of blood. I mean, it's the list goes on and on and on of how little people know about their bodies and how to protect it and keep it going. And unfortunately, we're being poisoned. We always have been, slowly but surely. But then this whole COVID thing, man, you talk about like a fast track to hurting people. I don't think people realize what we're going to be seeing in the next few years and the damage that was actually done by that. There's more to come. There's definitely more deaths and stuff that are ahead of us, quite frankly. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, no, you're 100% on all of that. And literally, they're going to have to start calling me Apotha Smurf, because I do talk about these things until I'm blue in the face. And I'm going to keep doing it, until God releases me and says, okay, little girl, sit down. We got other people to take over now. It was so interesting. Last night, Nurse Michelle, or yesterday evening, I should say, Nurse Michelle had a space and she brought in a psychiatric nurse to talk about SSRIs. And as I was listening to him, because I was a psych nurse for 10 years, and so, I was listening to him going, I love what he's saying. He's so correct. It wasn't just that he was correct. It was the way that he was presenting information was so beautiful that I was like, I'm so thrilled to know that there are people like him out there in this world, other nurses out there in the world that are doing this, that are picking up the torch, and they are going and they are lighting other people's fires. Maybe he'll light up some other nurses, but that information now, because I used to feel so alone. 20 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, and everybody thought I was crazy. They told me I was crazy. Like people that loved me, my friends and stuff, like, yeah, I don't believe you, this is crazy, that's all my doctor is saying, prove it, like that kind of stuff. I was getting so much of that. It was so difficult. And now I'm so encouraged that as I'm getting older, and believe me, I am older, that there are younger people out there that are gaining this knowledge, that are seeing what I've been seeing. He even talked about studies the same way that I talk about studies. I was like, it was almost like my words were coming out of his mouth. And I was just like, thank you, Lord. There are people out there that are doing this, and more, I think, are going to be coming up and stepping up. And so just, everybody take heart. The information, the truth is coming out. It is. And I think COVID, like you said, Truth, COVID, I think, was a big wake up call where a lot of nurses like this guy, his last name was Wayne. I can't remember his first name, but he, where they said, people don't know, people don't understand. We have got to step up and tell people what's going on behind the scenes in this healthcare industry. So I was just very encouraged and very heartened. You can go back and Nurse Michelle podcast, or yeah, I think that's what she calls it, the Nurse Michelle podcast. But just the space she ran last night was just really, really great.
That's awesome. Yeah, please feel free to, repost or share or put it down the pill. But go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah, I just really think that this is really, really, really key to what we're doing, because when Carol says she's been doing this a long time, I've been doing this a long time. And what happens is we get censored, we get shadow banned, there's an army after us. OG nurses is what I call us, or the critical thinking frontline clinician. We have started over so many different times that's where I saw what Matthew was doing. I'm like, oh, we need some protection, so that, so that we don't get shadow banned and constantly have to start over again. But all we're trying to do is save lives. And one of the things that I see most importantly is we need the ability to answer people's questions, right? We need the ability for people to submit information or talk to an original gangster nurse, so that we can assess those 4 areas of health and then help them make their decisions. Um, and quite frankly, I'm not even concerned about licensure. There are people here that don't have a clinical degree that can run circles around people. So there's an army of people on X that we can do this, but we need to band together and do it. And it would be nice to make it into a company, but I don't know. I don't even care. The point is that we've got to find a way to elevate each other's voices, because you will resonate with some people and the next person resonate with someone else, and the next person's going to resonate with a whole nother group of people. And that's the point. We have a lot of work to do. So happy, is it hump day? Is it a hump day?
Is it? Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. If you're saying it's Wednesday, I guess it's Wednesday. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, absolutely. What Jeannie was saying, it can be, if we let it, it can be extremely discouraging, and really you just want to. And I believe me, guys, so many times I've wanted to just say, the hell with this. I'm giving up. I can't keep fighting this. But what's more painful than being shadow banned or, having to rebrand yourself on Twitter twice or those kinds of things, is the in person, when you're talking to another clinician, when you're talking to a friend, a neighbor, a family member, and you're getting that same kind of pushback, like they are completely the same people that come running to you every time they got the sniffles. They pick up the phone and call you. What do I do? Now they're saying, oh no, you're full of it. That stings really sharp, more so than social media rejection. So yeah, it's a lot to be up against. But I really, as I look back over the last couple of decades of being in this fight, I would not trade any moment of it for anything. I would do probably everything exactly the same, because I get so many people telling me that I've been helpful, and that's all I want. That's all I want, is to just be helpful, and helping people know a better way, and there is a better way.
Amen. And
Go ahead, Terry.
amen. And you are helping people, Carol. And I'm just going to have a little fun with you here, so just bear with me. Carol, this is Bill, and I've been listening to your space, and I just want you to know that you've helped me quite a bit. And I especially like what you said about relationships. We need to have relationships. But I want to preface that with saying they should be quality relationships, because I had one in the oral office that I was ended up impeaching for. So just make sure that all your relationships are quality. Last, I want to say I'm having a little prostate problem. I'm peeing in 3 streams. What can you recommend for that, Carol?
Well, I recommend that instead of peeing in streams, you pee in the toilet. That might be a little bit better for you. But Bill, I want you to know I'm really proud of you, because you did not inhale. Good for you.
Well, that's the good thing about these gummies. I could take a gummy and still tell people I'm not inhaling.
My goodness. President Clinton just apparently loved Miss Carol.
Thanks for playing along, Carol.
Daniel just came up. How you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing well as can be right now. I just wanted to chime in and say, hey, it's been a great space. I appreciate everybody. Truth, you've done a fabulous job of hosting, and the subjects have been just off the chart today. To give just a, I want to give a shout out to Apothecarol and Jeannie. I haven't heard them directly speak in their spaces as such. I do want to follow them, but I also want to come back to what they've talked with. My wife has a number of different issues, and the problem that we have is that she just can't get any results. Everybody keeps on going, well, let's just give it a little longer. Well, and nobody wants to do anything to research. I mean, she's got some mental health issues, she's got physical issues. They have to do with choices that she made through the years that literally have destroyed liver and damaged kidneys and such. So she's had an addiction problem, and she always seems to get written off as, oh, this, she's just an addict. She's just an alcoholic type of thing. And I'm just at a loss of how to approach her mental health issues that have been created because of that abuse. And I'm looking for avenues. So I look forward to being able to listen in on Apothecarol's space and Jeannie's space. And I appreciate that you giving me a mic to be able to say that.
I'm going to jump right in on here. This is exactly what I mean about building an infrastructure that allows people to ask their personal questions, because I could sit with you and talk to you 5 to 10 times and it would have an impact for your wife. You know, the issue is, number one, building a relationship between the nurse and the patient. That relationship is absolutely key. And that's the reason why nurses are the most trusted profession there is. Because we know that if you don't love us, you're not going to make any progress. And we love our patients. That's why we continue to fight. I love my patients, and I want to see what is in the best interest for them. And finally, we are the nurses that don't take no for an answer. What's happening in the healthcare system right now is it's too siloed. They tried to coordinate it, they can't. You don't have that primary trusted relationship clinician anymore, and that's what we need to be. But we can't be it to the world. We can get people started, but what happens then in everything that exists today, we don't have enough time to continue that relationship and process over time, and that's what is critically needed. So I got all kinds of ideas. I just don't know what God's plan is. But right now I know that what I'm doing is not what I want to be doing, and we can help so more. We can have such. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional. We can have such great impact if we got our shit together. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Jeannie. Go ahead, Apothecary.
Hey, Jeannie, are you hosting spaces?
I used to, but I don't, because I can't ever get a consistent time. I want to answer people's questions. I don't want to talk about the current thing. I want to, expose the personal things that are going on with individual people. And then what do they have access to? I want to do old school case management, right? Where are you located? What kind of doctors do you have available? Who are the best ones to go to? We need a network of nurses that will tell us who the best doctors are. The whole enchilada. I'm thinking
Yeah,
big, like major
yeah,
league.
yeah. I do that in private consultations. But yeah, what I have found useful for me, I mean, we all have our different approaches, and that's what makes it all so beautiful. But for me, is giving blanket information. And sometimes it is about the latest thing. Sometimes it's about stuff that's thousands of years old. But giving information, and then people can, see how to apply that to their lives. But up until recently, I made myself available for private consultations. That might be something, you can explore how to do that. Or if you want to, you and I can have a conversation. I can tell you what worked for me in doing that, and you can see how to adapt and apply that to your situation. The consistent time frame thing is a challenge. Let me tell you, so the Sunday morning thing has worked for me for over 5 years now. And now that I'm about to kind of semi-retire, that's going to free me up to do a second space each week. And so I'm going to pick an evening. And it's just kind of, we have to do what we can do, and that's all we can do is what we can do, right? But and then I kind of wanted to address, I think it was Bill with the wife that has a lot of problems. Bill.
Daniel.
Oh, it was Daniel. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Daniel, I just want to say that right now, myself and there's another practitioner, we've been really, really studying and learning about all of this that's been coming out in research. about how just basic freaking diet, like of all things, of course, we knew this, but now the research is supporting that diet nutrient deficiencies are really behind a lot of addiction and mental illness, and that by correcting the diet, they can get a lot of improvement, and then from there implement some other things that can help even further. So I just want to invite you to keep your eyes open for that kind of information about what are they doing. And it's not just mental illness, diagnosis that you go to the psychiatrist and stuff for, but it's also dementias and Alzheimer's. Like, a lot of this stuff is dialing back to diet and nutrient deficiencies that are creating these amyloid plaques and tau tangles and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, just know that there is hope, and there are people that are available that do know to do more than say, well, we'll just wait and see how. Here's another drug. Let's wait and see what happens. Like that, there are clinicians out there that can be more helpful, and I don't know where you're at, but yeah, maybe let me just follow you because I know I'm not. There we go. I followed you back so that you can, if you will DM me and just let me know kind of maybe where you're at, I might be able to help point you in the direction of finding a clinician that can be more helpful than what you've had in the past.
Thank you so
That's
much.
awesome. I'm glad that you came in, Daniel, and that Ms. Apothecaro got to jump in on her journey to go help another patient. And it's hence kind of why we do these spaces. But speaking of spaces, we are going to end this space. So any final thoughts from anybody before I close it here?
Matthew, is there any chance that you and I and Carol and Marlon can talk offline?
Well, there's always a chance for anything.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, because I'm more the business financial project management process improvement person. So if we could talk, that would be wonderful, because I think there's a way to pull these clinicians together so we're one entity that people can come to. So there's opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Well, go ahead, Daniel. I can't hear you, buddy, if you're trying to speak.
That was it. Can you hear me now?
No, I hear you. I thought Daniel had his mic open. Daniel, we can't hear you, buddy.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have that open. But
Oh,
once again,
no worries.
I just want to, since I am here, I just want to give great appreciation. Truth, we talk about faith, and I hear you bring it up, and I brought it up yesterday. And, God has a way of opening doors when you need them most. And that's finding this space is one of them that he opened for me. And I just want to give you thanks for that and give God thanks for that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely not us, but there's always a higher power, at least in my life. And that's kind of the thing we've said before. It's where our country was founded on the principles of God, our creator. The freedoms that we get come from God, not man, not government, so I'm glad that, hopefully this opens up something, Daniel, for Ms. Apothecaro to at least throw some guidance towards y'all on what's going on. And I'll definitely keep your wife in our prayers. Prayer does work. It is a real thing. And if anybody believes otherwise, just give it a try. Anyway, Terry and Nika, y'all are so great to do what you do and help me out when Marlon's away. Any final thoughts for y'all?
I'm just gonna ask people one last time to please go down to that purple pill if you haven't already, to like and share the space out. It is recorded, so people that cannot join us in the morning can come back and listen to it later. And please always feel free to follow us over on YouTube or Rumble under American X Live. We always appreciate that. I don't think I was very involved in this space today, but I always appreciate you having me up here, Truth, and I don't mind helping out. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day and enjoys this heat wave that we have going through. Hopefully, y'all got it too. Thanks, Terry. Great to be up here with you. Apothecary, I'm glad you got to stop in and chat with us for a while. We always appreciate your input. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I just want to say I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Bowman. Teasing. Carol, so glad you came up. Nika, it's always great to be up here with you. I loved your input on the J6ers. Tinfoil, you're right. The guy did invent a hydrogen to power cars, and suddenly he just wasn't around anymore. Truth, I appreciate the Bible study you put on last night. He puts one on every Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern, and then Saturday at, I believe it's 7 o'clock Eastern. Oh, no, 9
8 a.m.
Yeah.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. He has a Bible study. I'm sorry. We're praying for our country. Hello. Any rate, thanks to everybody that came up and spoke. Also to the listeners, you're just as important as those speaking. The fact that you come in and listen to us is much appreciated. And that, Mr. Truth, is my 2 cents.
Well, thank you. Yep. Thanks to everybody. It's always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Apothecary, and everybody that comes up here and contributes. And no matter what we're covering, there's lots of stuff to cover. But I always like to remind everybody, remember, don't sweat the small stuff. Just realize that everything is small stuff. Try to get the big picture here. The beauty about at least what I know to be true is that we have an amazing script called the Holy Bible, and it gives us the ending. We know that God wins, and no matter how troubled you may be, just cast your fears and your troubles and stuff upon Jesus, and He'll definitely make a difference in your life and give you some solace. Because all this stuff really, it ultimately comes down to a fight of good and evil. We got lots of fronts we're fighting on and battling, whether it be political or our physical bodies or whatever it is. So just don't sweat it too much. Try to keep it in perspective. Heal your bodies with all ways that you can: your mind, your spirit, your body. All right, so we are going to be back tomorrow. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Marlon, our Fearless Fish, will be hosting tomorrow. So hopefully that's true. So give us a break. But thanks again, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Like Marlon always says, don't work too hard. Yeah, but he does it with a Jersey accent. Use guys. And, God bless you all and God bless America. We'll see y'all tomorrow around 9 a.m.-ish. Eastern.